You have entered the Chronic's rabbit hole, and Rotten Mango fans, Chronicans, welcome to or welcome back to the channel. I am so excited to get back to another Rotten Mango episode because look who we got here. We have wifey Alana, my wife here. I'm so excited because Stephanie and her husband are actually the ones who do these episodes. So it's a husband wife duo, but
Very
it's
cool.
just Stephanie who's in the actual frame itself. And today we are doing a very highly requested episode from all of you. This is the a Taiwan Halloween tragedy where 159 people die and how the police tried to cover it up. This is going to
Wow.
be scandalous, probably pretty sad as well. So I hope you all are ready for a long one. Have your drinks, have whatever can comfort you through these moments. If anything ever gets too intense, like Stephanie says, pause it, come back, or maybe move on because it can definitely be a lot for the mental sometimes. But this one has a lot of views, so it must mean that this was pretty shocking.
Absolutely. And from everything I know from Rotten Mango has always been very shocking, very sharp, very to the know of like the inside scoop of what is really going on behind a lot of these tragedies.
Have you seen
I
any?
haven't seen Rotten Mango, but I know from you and what you've
Just from
told
what you're
me,
okay. Yeah.
and just from what you've told me about Rotten Mango, like every single time you'll like take a pause or a break, come upstairs and
Yeah.
fill me in on, some of the things that you're watching and what she's talking about. And every single time it's just like a gut punch every single time. So I'm really excited to be here with my very first ever Rotten Mango reaction. This is the first time I've ever been introduced to what was her name again?
Stephanie.
Stephanie. Um so this is going to be, I would say there's going to be a ton of fun, and because we're doing a music reaction, but this is going to be intense, and I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also absolutely petrified all at the same time.
Well, try to keep your guard down and let's experience this together for everyone.
Sounds like a good plan, honey. Thank you for being here with us.
Though it's still August, we are actually getting pretty close to Halloween. We already have our Halloween costumes for the boys at
We
home.
do.
Little Bluey, can't wait to
Bluey and Bingo.
Blue and Bingo, can't wait to see them in here. But then on the more serious side, there's a lot of death about to be coming and the police corruption and trying to cover up. So I'm really intrigued to see what this is going to be all about. Halloween is a
Mm.
very scary time that it can be because there's a lot of mischief already going on. So you can slither in and do some sketchy things in those times.
Halloween is that time where the normal person isn't going to set fireworks off in a park, but on Halloween,
They
someone
might.
they might set fireworks off at a park.
Right.
What's really crazy to me is 159 people is a lot of people. That is a very large amount of people, not just as a number, but like physically, if you imagine a room with 100, almost
Yeah. Is
160
this
people in
individual
it.
people? Is this one location?
Yeah, like so how are the police trying to cover up nearly 160 lives, right? Like so I'm as much as this is really such a devastating situation, I'm also curious to see how far the corruption really goes for them to even be able to potentially pull off something like that.
Well, I've seen some pretty nasty cover up so far with Rotten Mango's coverage
Crazy.
of these stories too.
Like
So
this whole fairy tragedy,
exactly right.
right? So like
Yeah,
when you were telling me about that, I wasn't down here watching it, but Kyle was
that was
filling me
devastating.
in, and we watched some of it. Oh, we did watch some of it together, so I've seen a little bit of Rotten Mango from what you showed me of the Soul Fairy
Right,
tragedy.
maybe I should do the clips of that,
You
or we
showed me a
watched the whole
clip.
one.
No, we watched a couple clips of it,
Nice.
not the
Okay.
whole one at all.
Okay.
And you just showed me a couple clips of it, and oh my goodness, like that was absolutely, I cried so hard. So like
So
absolutely devastating.
definitely check out any of my reactions to Rotten Mango. We'll put a playlist up there for all y'all. But I know this is going to be good with the two of us here. So let's do this.
Let's do it.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Before we get started, I just want to give a content warning. There's going to be a lot of very graphic videos included in this episode. This event was recorded over and over again. There's just a lot out there, and I feel like a lot of the times you need to kind of hear from the families of the victims, and you need to see some of the events that took place just to really understand how important it is that we help these families get justice. So, huge content warning. And with that being said, let's get into it. On October 30th, a man walked out of his tiny little shop in Itaewon, and he placed this pink piece of cloth into like this alleyway. He brings out this tray of food. He lights 2 candles, and this elderly man, he gets on his knees in front of the food, and he starts sobbing. Police immediately approach him, and this alleyway is supposed to be closed off. They had it taped up. Nobody was allowed through. So what is this man doing? Remnants of the tragedy before were lingering everywhere. I mean, if you look at this video, there's IDs, lost shoes, clothes, like everything is scattered throughout the alleyway. And the officer tells the old man, the police officer, you can't do this. Like, you gotta go. Grab your stuff. Come on, let's go. The old man starts arguing back. He's like, don't do this right now. You have to let me do this. You have to let this go. The officer tells him, just take your food. We gotta go. And he screams, no, you leave that right there. More officers start to show up at the scene, and they start touching the food that he's laid out on the ground. They're trying to take it away. The man breaks down, and he yells at them, don't you even dare touch the food.
It's an offering.
Finally, the man breaks down completely, and he's sitting on the ground, cold cement, and he's just sobbing. The officer sits down with him, and both of them start crying, and he's like stroking the old man's back, trying to console him. The old man had screamed at them, the children need to have one last meal. One last meal, so don't touch it. Don't you dare touch it.
Yes.
신랑의 끝에 상인도 경찰도 울음을 터뜨린다. 이 어이없는 비극을 우리 사회는 언제까지 되풀이해야 할까요?
Are there subtitles for
I'll see, yeah.
경찰도
There's only the auto-generated, so I doubt it.
울음을 터뜨린다. 이 어이없는 비극을 우리 사회는 언제까지
She's really good at
되풀이해야
relaying what
할까요?
is said and done, too, though. As you can see.
He owns a shop in this alleyway. He's a business owner, and he said that he tried his best to save as many people as he could, but so many more people died literally right in front of his eyes. 159 people died in the alleyway the night before, and he wanted them to have one last meal.
So that's Rotten Mango's intros, honey. This is why she got to go to the P. Diddy hearings. This is why
As always,
she literally just got to interview a serial killer. Like she's really in the know of how to investigate these things while presenting a story in a somewhat digestible way, where these are really difficult stories to take on but need to be heard because of the justice, especially when there's cover-ups and all these things, right?
She's a phenomenal storyteller because of the way that she's able to bring you into the moment of thanks, honey, of what's happening, because there's no subtitles, so we don't know what the Korean is saying, but you don't need to know.
That's what I mean. And she's gonna let you know why he's sobbing. He's the shop owner. He got to see it all. Now she's whet your palate to actually want to go through this to experience what you know is going to be hurtful and painful, but you have to for the justice and understanding what went on.
Oh,
So yeah, I'm very glad.
I can
you're
already
here.
tell that she's a great journalist.
Yeah, one of the best in the world.
Oh my god. Good intro.
As always, full show notes are listed at rottenmangopodcast.com. There's a lot of videos that I've linked there. Please go watch them. And if you guys are watching the video podcast on YouTube at Rotten Mango or on Spotify, all the videos are going to be in this video. And I'm just going to warn you, so many of these videos are so incredibly graphic, and all of them just, yeah. So with that being said, let's get into it. His parents were really worried about him. He was meeting with a therapist twice a week. He had on-campus counseling in high school. It seemed like the parents were doing all of the right things. They were not ignoring his cries for help. They weren't saying, oh, he's just a 16-year-old teenager. Maybe he's just emotional. They were taking everything he was saying so very seriously. Their son had always been a bit of a quieter kid, but like a good kid. He listened to his parents. He studied, came home on time. And if he was out having fun, he was always with like the same 2 friends. They were like the 3 peas in a pod. They were the 3 musketeers. And now he just feels so alone. He feels like he's 16, completely isolated from the world. I mean, the parents did everything that they could to help. December 12th of 2022, so not too long ago, just a few months ago, just a few weeks before Christmas, the parents get a text message from their son. And he says, "I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. Please don't forget me. Please, you must remember me. I'm gonna go meet up with my friends." His friends had died in the Itaewon Halloween crowd search just 43 days ago. The crowd search that killed 159 people and injured nearly 200 others, and now their son would take his life in a motel bathroom because he couldn't bear to carry this like incredibly heavy
Survivor's
burden
guilt.
of being the only survivor in his friend group. Literally, nobody could have ever imagined what was going to happen that night in Itaewon. I'm sure you guys have heard of what happened there Halloween weekend of 2022. And if there were a few people that knew it was dangerous, it definitely wasn't the parents of the people in attendance. They would never have let their kids go if they knew anything bad was going to happen. By all accounts, all these people in attendance, they were responsible adults. There were some that were in high school, some even as young as middle school, but their parents knew exactly where they were going. They just wanted to celebrate. So I kind of need to talk to you about how the night starts so you just see how normal it is. It wasn't like, oh, these people, they went to this dangerous area and risked their lives to celebrate. Like they went to this area that everyone was like, oh, we're warning you, don't go here. It's so bad. Absolutely not. Like that's not what happened at all. I did see some online discourse of people being like, well, these people were being young and drunk and reckless, and this is what happens when they all gather in one spot. I completely disagree.
Yeah, exactly.
For example, Mr. and Mrs. A, that's what we're going to call them. They're sitting in the car, October 29th of 2022, and they're on their way to this super fancy restaurant. They're smiling at each other in the car. I'm sure they felt really excited and kind of giddy. Like they had worked so hard in the past 3 decades to raise their family, and now their kids finally all grown up. So the parents, they're living the life, and it was also the dad's birthday. And their 25-year-old daughter had just made them reservations at one of the fanciest restaurants in town. She texted her dad, "Go have fun with Mom. Also, thank you for raising me. I'll repay you in the future, haha." She wouldn't be joining them as she was gonna go with some friends to celebrate Halloween in Itaewon. So the whole car ride, they're just smiling at each other. I mean, they had raised their kids to be such incredible adults. In another part of Seoul, a dad watched his daughter get ready for Halloween festivities. She was dressed up as Princess Jasmine from Aladdin. This is her. And he remembered, he actually made fun of her. He was like, this full-grown kid, she was putting on a fashion show for me. And she twirled around and she was like, "Appa, this is what I'm wearing. Don't I look pretty?" I'm sure he was a bit worried that his daughter was going out, but that's very normal. I mean, no parent ever really stops worrying. Same as another father in Seoul. So his daughter told him that she was going to Itaewon for Halloween. He completely trusted her to be safe. She's just always, like all these other kids, I mean, she's just always been this really well-behaved kid. She knew the rules. She followed them. She's the type that would write him these lengthy letters for his birthday. The two had this really intense bond. So 3 years before Itaewon, he was diagnosed with leukemia. And his daughter was a match, so they transplanted bone marrow from her to save his life.
Wow.
And she would write to him while he's recovering in the hospital. And she wrote, "I'm so happy to have been born your daughter. You're the only one that I can rely on, so please don't get sick again, okay? Take good care of yourself, Dad. I need you to stay with me for like another 70 years.
I need some Kleenex.
I was going to say, let's get you something.
My eyes won't stop leaking.
Yeah, you might not even need the glasses. Yeah, y'all. I'm gonna try my best to stay strong for my honeys here too, so both of us aren't going misty eyes the whole time. And I know you're still experiencing this whole thing. It's powerful.
It's so crazy because we have 3 boys,
We sure do.
and one of our boys is 15.
Yeah, gonna be
and-
going to these parties soon.
Yeah, and like, oh man, he's gonna be going to these parties soon. It was crazy because after the Seoul Ferry tragedy one that you had watched and then showed me clips of,
Yep, went on a ferry away.
he got a permission slip from school right away that we had to sign saying we weren't allowed to sue if anything were to happen
Right, on this trip.
on their camping trip.
Yeah.
Right after we watched the Soul Ferry tragedy. And I know I had to think 3 times
Before signing
that permission slip. But also having to remember to not be afraid to let my son experience things just because of the potential that something could happen. But the thought that all of these parents are going through that. The pain, the pure devastation. Like, you can feel it through Stephanie.
Yeah.
What she is able to produce and put out is just, she's really good at empathizing and being a
Her eye
conduit
work.
for that emotion. So I fortunately and unfortunately am very sensitive to those types of things. So everything just leaks. My eyes are leaking. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Let's go get you these tissues then.
Yes.
We didn't just get some tissues. We got the whole roll.
We did.
You just never know. Let's keep this
You
in
never
an
know.
area where you can go get it.
I'm just really happy I opted into not wearing makeup today.
Yeah, I'm very happy too. We didn't need to see that massacre come down, but
Just like,
I think what Stephanie said here and what really you were nailing on is she was presenting this how it's just an everyday occurrence. Like even Alana was saying, we're just doing a field trip for a camping. Like we do camping all the time on the island, but that could be a moment where a tragedy happens. Maybe a dam breaks, the water comes down, so on and so forth. Natural disasters, let alone whatever happens here, right? So
goofing off to show your friends, goofing off in front of your friends that you normally wouldn't do while camping.
yeah, of
making
course.
something silly.
Go swim somewhere you shouldn't have. Like
Yeah.
it's really simple.
We had, I don't know if you've shared this story before, but one time we went tubing. We always go tubing. Tubing is a regular occurrence for our family. We haven't been since, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, that was the last time we went.
The last time we went tubing.
And why was that?
Yeah, we haven't been tubing since. The last time we went tubing, we almost lost Avery because we told him he can swim, but he's not an overly strong swimmer. But we said, "Hey, buddy, like, are you good?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good." I'm like, "All right, make sure you keep your life jacket on and don't wander off. You're in a river. It's dangerous." And he took his life jacket off, and he wandered off and got taken by the current, and the river took him downriver. And he managed to grab onto someone else's tube, and they took him over to a log. And Kyle and our friend Nick swam downriver, and they got him onto a log and was able to save him. But then they couldn't swim back with him. And then I swam down stupidly and left all the tubes up at the top of the river.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pregnant at the time. And then I had to swim back up river while pregnant to grab the tubes to bring them back so that we could get all 3 of the guys into the tubes.
All 4 of us almost drowned.
All 4 of us almost lost our lives that day. And that was the last time we went tubing.
Yeah, it's something you have to then address too. So a lot of these people are gonna have PTSD. Like the kid already went through survivor skill. If we lost someone there, the amount of survivor skill that would have been through that would have been just devastating. So like, there's a lot we can keep talking about. So this doesn't take on forever. We're gonna try to keep this going as much as we can because there's a lot of story. And there's a lot of people that is going to have a lot of individual moments here. So let's keep doing our best.
Again, okay? Take good care of yourself, Dad.
When you need them,
I need you to stay with me for like another 70 years. You have to cook me seaweed soup, even when I'm like 96 years old. You know I don't like any other people's seaweed soup. I love you, Dad. Mm-hmm. You're the best. By the end of the night, she would be dead.
No.
And he would cry out, "You told me you wanted me to stay with you for 70 years. You wanted me to cook you seaweed soup until you were 96. You promised." Before we get there, let me tell you about Halloween in South Korea. If you're going to be anywhere in Korea for
The only thing that's sad, honey, is because you're using the same toilet paper. Now it's getting all white stuff on your face.
Whatever.
Okay. At least you guys know why there's some white stuff kind of sometimes.
I have to switch my toilet paper anyway.
Here we go. 40 seconds.
Halloween, like the first Halloween.
Gosh.
You promised. Before we get there, let me tell you about Halloween in South Korea. If you're gonna be anywhere in Korea for Halloween, like the first Halloween after COVID restrictions have been lifted was October of 2022.
Very
3
true.
years. It was going to be Itaewon if you were gonna go anywhere to celebrate. Itaewon is a city that's located inside of Seoul, and it's above the Han River. It's typically known as just a place with incredibly fun, lively nightlife. Like
Kinda
that's
looks
what
like
people
New
go to
York.
Itaewon for.
It
They've
does.
got bars, restaurants, nightclubs, shops that open late. It's just like this gathering center. It's also a super popular destination for foreigners. Like the energy just feels really unique there. There's even this famous K-drama called Itaewon Class. And there's actually a famous quote in that series that says, most people just come to Itaewon for Halloween. So
Wow,
October 29th
interesting.
of 2022, partygoers are spending hours in front of their bathroom mirrors, like putting on their face makeup, their costume, they're fixing their hair, their wigs, their everything, adjusting their dresses and their pants, and businesses were equally as busy. Like Halloween in Itaewon that weekend, insane. They're making sure they got all the inventory that came in, like they got to get all the soju glasses, they're turning up the music. I mean, they're doing everything to make sure that everyone's going to have a good time. They're prepping their ingredients for all the food. I mean, there's going to be about 130,000 people coming through Itaewon, which is a pretty small area.
Wow.
So, like, think about it.
Think
the
about
city
that.
is, which is a pretty, going to be about 130,000 people coming through Itaewon, which is a pretty small area.
Jeez. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
like, think
We know what happened at, oh God, who was it? Travis Scott, who had the concert where people got trampled because they overfilled the venue.
Yeah, and like people came in who didn't even pay and all that too.
People were coming in who didn't pay. People, it was a surge. It was a crowd surge.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, that's what she called this at the beginning of the video, a crowd surge.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Too many people in one spot.
Tight little alley, right?
Tight little alley.
through Itaewon, which is a pretty small area.
Wow.
So, like, think about it. The city is Seoul. This is like a part of the major city. Even taxi drivers were on standby near Itaewon just waiting to take all the drunk people home. And I think it's important to note, for weekends like this, it's a boost in the city's economy. And this is important later. So the whole city of Itaewon,
true.
they're
Yes.
prepping for this big Halloween weekend. It's literally been 3 years since Itaewon had a Halloween because of, the pandemic. This is the first time that mask mandates have been lifted for Halloween.
Wow.
So let's talk transportation. Let's talk about the logistics of this night.
One second.
Thanks, honey.
Welcome.
Do I need a lint roller for my face?
No, I was thinking of getting you like a small towel, but this will do. And I feel like you're not going to be leaking as much. She's going to be producing some anger moments as well. Here we go.
Most citizens that were heading into Itaewon, they were not going to drive. They're going to take
love
the
you,
Korean
honey.
subway. First of
love
all,
you too,
most people
honey.
take the subway to begin with. It's the easiest way to move around, and parking would have been absolutely horrific in Itaewon that night. Most people were planning on drinking, so they're not driving, and this is so important to note. Itaewon subway station drops you off right smack dab, like in the middle of Itaewon, right next to this little alleyway. I'm gonna put up a bunch of maps, but they'll also be in the show notes. Now, this little alleyway, I'm gonna put up
Nice. And then she even gives the full location and all that too. So that's the beauty. They pause every time you want to see these type of
Okay.
things. And
Locations where CPR was administered. Crowd crush in narrow alley led to many deaths.
there you go.
That's
a bunch of maps, but they'll also be in the show notes. Now, this little alleyway is important because it connects the main road that has the subway station and the World Street Food Road, which is like where all the bars and restaurants are.
Oh,
So a
nice.
lot of
World
people will
Street
travel
Food?
through this alleyway
That's
to get from
cool.
the train station to the busiest part of Itaewon. Some people will leave Itaewon by taking this little alleyway. Now, during the day, this alleyway looks just unassuming. It's just this narrow little space. There's restaurant entrances up and down both
So
sides.
narrow.
There's even a hotel called the Hamilton Hotel located on the alleyway. Okay, so the main entrance for the hotel isn't in the alleyway, but it's like the building is right there. To me, it just looks like your stereotypical alleyway in one of the big cities. Like,
Yeah.
space is tight, the places are gonna be tight. I'm gonna give you a bunch of pictures on just how narrow it is. It's about 10 feet wide and about 130 feet long. And it's on a hill, so it slopes downward. Another thing to note is that the road is not paved over in like a smooth cement. Okay, I wouldn't say it's as intense as cobblestone, but it's like a brick floor where some bricks protrude out more than others, and you can definitely tell that some parts of this hill, this downward slope, they're uneven. So even without a crowd, it's the kind of alleyway where if you were walking down with your friend, you would try to keep an eye out because you could easily trip. It's that kind of rocky. Now, take this alleyway and imagine two horizontal roads, big roads. One road is the main party street for Itaewon called Itaewon World Food Street. And the other road has the Itaewon subway station on there.
Yeah,
and the easiest way to get from these two parallel roads is this tiny little alleyway. So throughout the entire Halloween night, people are up and down this alleyway, getting to and from the subway station. And as the night is progressing, there were what now seems like the first warning signs. There were a few people that were pushed down or accidentally shoved in this alleyway. Now, I mean, I'm sure the party energy, the alcohol, I'm sure it had something to do with it, but most of it was due to the alleyway, like the crowds, the foot traffic, the uneven floorings, the slope. But everyone responded to these mini accidents in a very normal way. Everyone would freeze, make sure the person got back up, was good, and then everyone would keep walking again. That's kind of to be expected. What's not to be expected is nearly 200 people dying in this alleyway. The first 911 call of the night was made at 6:30 p.m. The incident doesn't happen until about 10.
Wow. So that's 3.5 hours earlier.
3.5 hours earlier, people started realizing something wasn't right. Like, things are going to get weird. So in Korea, it's 112, the emergency line. But someone called to report to the police, hey, the alleyway near the Hamilton Hotel is getting dangerous. People are going up and down this tiny little alleyway. Some people are struggling to get down the alleyway because people keep pushing them up. Like, I barely made it out of the alleyway. It's getting that crowded.
Terrifying.
It's getting bad. I think you guys need to send some people down here and try to control the situation. The police on the other end asked, are people going to fall down and cause a huge accident? Yeah, it's really dangerous. You need to do something. Okay, thanks for calling. We're going to send someone out to check it out. For hours, nobody checked it out.
But that's weird because don't you need to have police present when there's big crowd anyways?
Yeah, so that's the argument that people have and why I said it's so important. The fact that Halloween weekend is an economic weekend, it boosts the economy of the city. So anytime there's these events that are held, police are part of the planning. It's all part of city planning.
Yeah.
That's like
This is already giving me eerie vibes of like Jaws, because like Jaws is like one of the best movies there is, and it's based off of in the summertime people come to their town and like spend a lot of money to go on the beach. So like now that there's a killer shark out there, do you stop the economy? No, you let them keep going in and you let some people get eaten by the shark because you're going to make a lot more money from it. And that's literally what the movie's on. So this is like literally storybook writing of how devastating this is going to potentially be.
In my mind, while she's speaking, I'm thinking, why not just go and put some caution cones over the alleyway and stop people from using it? Some people will still use it. There's always going to be the people who walk past the caution tape to get through the alleyway. But it would deter quite a few of them from using it. Get some police presence in there. Shut down the alley. You can still get from road A to B. You just have to go around, and it's a longer walk. So it wouldn't shut down the economy in that way if you just shut down the one alley. It just adds a frustration to some people.
Yeah, but that could have been a 20-minute walk where it maybe only was a 2.
That's true.
And that's a huge difference when there's 100,000 people.
Yeah.
So like it's how do you deal with this? Maybe they didn't know, but we'll find out, right?
Yeah.
events that are held, police are part of the planning. It's all part of city planning.
Yeah.
That's like what your taxes are paying for. There was like no police there. I mean, we're going to get into all the reasonings. A lot of police officers get arrested. 7 p.m., a large crowd gets stuck in the alleyway.
Oh my God,
I do think several things play a factor in how things would turn out this first time.
I was going to say, and in the alleyway, there has to be shops and all that too. So it's not like you can just close it off and then take everyone else's business.
Well, that's what the guy was saying. Like, even the back doors to the shops where they would take their garbage and, like, the garbage truck would come through.
Well, that was to answer your question, right? Where it's like, can you just, like, blocks it out? It's like, no, because there's businesses that are running, so you can't just do that.
It's 7 p.m. The party's just getting started, it seemed. People were drunk, but more than that, people were just excited to be there. Keep this in mind, and it's not that big of a crowd. So there's a crowd stuck in the alleyway, and it seems like an accident is just waiting to happen. So a woman in the crowd, she senses this danger. She climbs up onto a ledge in the alleyway where she can see both ways, and she starts directing the crowd, like, you know, a traffic police officer.
Wow.
She's urging everyone, hey, go down the slope first, everyone. Move to the side, and then people going up the slope can come up afterwards. It sounds easy. I mean, it sounds like, why didn't they do this the next time it happened? But it wasn't easy by any means. Like, the crowd was moving basically inch by inch. That's how jam-packed it was. It was not like a, hey, everyone to the right, to the left. They're inching forward and backward. But I still think it was at a point where it was manageable. Everyone was yelling to everyone, listen to the woman, get down the alleyway first. The music wasn't that loud yet. People weren't, out and about for that long. And just in general, there weren't that many people in the alleyway. But after this crowd is able to get through the alleyway, there's like this lingering feeling. This is not a good situation. At first, in the beginning of the night, all the posts about Itaewon that night were, oh my God, Itaewon's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. It's so exciting. Look at all the places that are open. Look at these costumes people are wearing. It was a good thing. It was a positive feeling. But throughout the night, more posts were popping up about how dangerous things were starting to feel. Someone straight up tweeted, wildly unsafe in Itaewon right now. They showed some pictures of the intense crowds. It wasn't just social media being made aware of this situation. A lot of people in Itaewon called the police, which I think is interesting because technically no crime had taken place yet. But the fact that a lot of these civilians could see that things were escalating, I think that goes to show you how unprepared the city was for this event. Like, it's just insane. One survivor said, it was around 8 p.m. when I went into the alleyway, and it was like hell. So this is even before the incident. They said, there were already a ton of people in the alleyway and I couldn't get into the alleyway. I couldn't even get in. So there's multiple directions that people are coming in from. On both sides of the alleyway, there's 2 directions people are flowing in from.
Okay.
Like this, right?
Yeah.
And she said, I couldn't get in. After waiting for an hour to start walking down the alleyway, my friend and I were like, okay, we can't do this. Like, let's turn around. They try to turn around. They're like, okay, we've been waiting here for an hour. We haven't even started walking down the alleyway. But it was impossible to turn around because they were jam-packed. People were pushing up behind him. I mean, they were literally trapped. Someone was pushing them down the alleyway. People in front of them were pushing back on them. She said that she heard people behind her screaming, squeeze in, squeeze in. Like, come on, let's get down the alleyway. But in front of her, people were screaming, help me, stop. Like, I can't breathe. Stop pushing.
This was 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And this is
the scariest part that she said was she fell. She said, a person in front of me fell and I fell with them. And everyone behind me started falling like dominoes, right? So there was like a little incident where everyone started tripping. And she said, someone was under me, I was under someone, and people were on top of me. I could barely breathe. I was calling for help and I felt like the music was drowning me out.
When there's a scene of Game of Thrones when the armies are pushing in on all sides to constrict Jon Snow's army. And it just like that cyclone. That's what it's reminding me of.
Remind me of a hurricane right now, and people are the wind and the water coming in, and they could see this ominous. Like, I literally just watched Katrina and how used all the resources were and how they should have already had the storm preparation ready. And like, these people are saying, like, why are the police not here, and having different ways to funnel these people into this location. But even like we were saying, should have went the other way. These people were waiting an hour before even thinking of going another route. So like this alleyway really was the place to be, you know?
How long was it to go another route if you were willing to wait an hour instead of going another way?
Yeah, exactly. Right?
It must have been longer than a 20-minute walk.
Yeah. And let me just take that off your mouth again. Okay, you got it. Never mind.
Nobody could even hear me. And then finally, someone like dragged her to the side into one of the bars. They later left the alley slowly along the wall, but it was just as crowded as they left. So things, they're clearly getting worse and worse. One caller told the police before the tragedy, and I repeat, before the tragedy, they called the police and said, I feel like I'm gonna get crushed. When I was in that alleyway, a lot of people were just getting squashed. It's pure chaos out here. Please help. Send help. The officer on the other line reassured her that help was on the way. Records show that they were not on the way. Out of numerous phone calls that were made to the police that night, the police only sent out officers 4 times, and apparently they didn't do anything. I don't know if maybe they didn't feel like anything was wrong. Maybe they didn't care to find out. Honestly, I don't know. But it is noted the police did not dispatch anyone after calls were made from 9 p.m. and onward. So an hour leading up to the tragedy, the police sent no officers to the site. And they were getting tens of calls. And it truly is not that nobody was alerting them that something was wrong. In fact, someone even walked into the police station to tell them. A live streamer, let's call her G. G was live streaming in Itaewon that night, and the night started off great. But soon the roads, the alleyways, they got so crowded, she's being pushed and shoved to the point where she had a crossbody bag on, and the strap broke. And her purse was just gone because it fell. And she can't even look around at the ground because it's just so filled with people. She tries to look for it briefly, but the crowd is so intense. She goes to the Itaewon police station to report her purse missing. But also, she's warning them. Like, this is how crazy the crowds are. Like, you don't think that's crazy that this happened with my purse? Like, nobody stole it. It broke because I was being pushed and shoved. She said, when I was there in the alleyway, I even saw people shouting that they had fallen and that they had gotten hurt. Like, you guys need to do something about it. The crowd is getting out of control. Somebody's going to get hurt. The police ignored her. They instead focused on the fact that they're like, oh, well, we're going to keep an eye out on your purse. Hopefully someone turns it in tomorrow to lost and found.
What's going on?
Oh, it gets really, the conspiracies come too. It's really crazy. So, the question, I guess, is did the police just really think that nothing bad was going to happen? But they were wrong. The tragedy happened 1 hour after she reported it to the police. A 24-year-old South Korean streamer, let's call him Mr. A. He was live streaming. And his time in Itaewon, like I said, with the other live streamer, at first you see him laughing, he's smiling on the stream, he is walking through the crowds, there's people in costumes, dancing, having fun. And then slowly the initial joy just starts dissipating. Those laughters suddenly morph into people's screams and cries. And at one point, even the streamer is crying for help because he had walked into the alleyway and got caught in the crowd surge. So he said the space got tighter and tighter and tighter, and the pressure became unbearable. He said there was this girl next to him, and she was much, much shorter than him. She was screaming for help. He tried to give her as much space as possible, but it was difficult. And in the end, he said that he saw her face turn purple, and then she stopped screaming, and then she died. The streamer said the only reason he was alive was a guy in a blue denim jacket helped him climb up into this small ledge on the wall of the alleyway. It was like a small staircase ledge, like a mini balcony. And the streamer said that once he got up there, he started helping other people onto the ledge, saving them from the crowd. And there was this moment where people on the ledge looked at each other, and one of the guys told him, "Please don't pull more people up. It's already too crowded." And the streamer said, "Okay, just one more." He helped save about 5 to 10 people from the crowd. And remember the denim jacket guy that helped him get onto the ledge in the first place?
Yeah.
He stayed in the crowd and let the weaker people climb up on him to get to the ledge. He survived. He did make it up to the ledge at the end, and he stayed behind to help administer CPR later.
There's going to be so many heroes here.
It's speculated that the man in the denim jacket saved more than 10 people that night. Wow. But the crowd started getting tighter and tighter till literally hundreds of people were trapped in the alleyway. The space of the alleyway is said to have been the size of maybe like half a classroom. Think of that many people in this small amount of space. They're not able to communicate because the music is so loud. The floors are uneven. It's so easy to trip. It's just insane. Obviously, I don't know what that would have felt like. I've never been in that situation, but there were a lot of people who survived the surge, and they described it as, "I saw a man with this flashing baton trying to signal people to move back. But you can't move back. It doesn't even matter if someone's giving you directions. It's so crowded. You can't move even if everyone wants to move. You can't move." So like I said, this crowd surge was different from the first one. The first one that I told you about that didn't turn into an accident because of the woman on the ledge. There were way too many people this time. So even if there were people taking initiative trying to navigate the crowds, there was no space. The amount of coordination something like that would have taken, nearly impossible in these conditions. And even then, who knows if it would have worked? People in the crowd said that they saw several people trying to look up at the sky, looking for some sort of like direction, some air. They looked like they were getting lightheaded. like they were gonna faint. They couldn't even reach their arms up to protect their lungs. So that's like the first thing they tell you to do in a crowd search is to try to give your lungs space.
Really?
So you put up your arms in almost a defensive boxing position.
Okay, yeah.
that
They
makes
couldn't
sense.
even lift their arms. Most of the ones
Get
in the
your
center
neck
of the
crushed,
crowd,
yeah.
they couldn't even reach their
Chest.
hands to look at their phones that they were holding in their hands. Many of them had missed calls from their parents. One mother texted her daughter, "Where are you? Where are you? I'm losing my mind. I'm going crazy because I'm so worried. Please respond just so I know where you are. Please just tell me you're safe." The mother had her daughter's name saved on her phone as "my oldest princess." She would never respond. There is a video of the situation. Well, there's multiple videos of the situation where you can see just how dire the situation is. There's some videos where you can see a man trying to cling onto a brick that's protruding from the wall, and it's just really graphic. I know it might be puzzling. Some of the videos, they show a different perspective where there looks to be some sort of space between the crowd and like an opening. And I saw a lot of comments that were like, why don't they just all move forward? There's space. I don't get it. At this point, what the video isn't showing is that there's people stacked on top of each other on the ground in front of that space. There's no way for anyone standing to move forward. People had fallen. They were stacked so high, the people behind them were blocked.
Look at that.
It said that the worst part of the crowd search, people were stacked on top of each other 13 feet tall. Situations like this, it's like a domino effect. One person falls down, and because of the force of others pressing into you, it's very likely that another person's gonna fall.
You say
Yeah.
13 feet?
How did more
That's
not
way taller
pass
than the
away?
ceiling.
Yeah, because it's going downhill and stuff. Again, this has nothing to do with anyone being drunk. I don't really like it when people make it out to be, oh, a bunch of drunk people. Of course they're going to trip and fall. They're going to wreak havoc. This is more
No.
about just plain physics. It wouldn't matter if we're talking about church ajumas on a Sunday after drinking tea. Like, this is about physics. It has nothing to do with alcohol. Because of the slope and inertia, like I said, one person falls, it's going to be a domino effect. People are just going to start collapsing. And even if you don't fall, that doesn't mean that you're going to be fine. The pressure of all these people pushing into you, it would cause your lungs to not be able to inflate with oxygen.
Yeah,
If 10
exactly.
people are pushing onto you with their body weight and more, or let's say they're on top of you, which by the way, there looks to be
1,000
way
pounds of
more than 10
pressure.
people pushing onto everyone. Let's say they're on top of you, that could be similar to 1,000 pounds of weight pressing straight onto your chest. It's going to be very, very difficult for you to breathe. It's incredibly dangerous, incredibly real, incredibly terrifying. A person may lose consciousness.
When we won my soccer title in I was grade 11, I was at the bottom of the pile because we did a huge pile up, right? I almost passed out from that pile up, and it was just 12 guys going on top of each other because we won a title. But then like everyone kind of had to like, like someone's at the bottom, like we should get off, like, oh my god, we almost just killed Kyle. Like,
Yeah.
but in the heat of the moment, even there's just an excitement, that little pile up, something could happen, let alone 13 feet, everyone stuck in a tight little
10-foot
alleyway.
space.
I don't know how more people didn't pass away, knowing the thousands of people that were in there, and even just hearing some of these moments before the 10 o'clock moment as well. I'm like, how are these people even surviving? Is showing desperation at a whole different level here.
Yeah, it really is. Like, this is insane. I couldn't imagine, like, this just lets me know that if there's ever, a big thing that happens, and 3 years later, finally, where if COVID ever happens again, don't go out everywhere the first year it's over. Don't do it. Everyone's gonna do the same thing. Crowd surges. I'm actually terrified of crowd surges, and I didn't even know they were a thing. But now they like terrify me because like I thought that was like just a thing that they showed in Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel you.
wow.
Yeah.
This is just wow.
30 seconds after being severely crushed, and they would suffocate after about 6 minutes. Side note, I know a lot of people in the beginning when news first broke of what happened, I saw a lot of people wondering if it was a stampede, which is you're getting run over by a group of people. Like they're running on top of you. But it wasn't. It wasn't someone being trampled to death. This was more like quicksand. like being trapped in quicksand. People were pushing up against one another, falling, stacking on top of each other. It's like you're suffocating because you're unable to expand your chest to bring in air. Many of the victims would pass out while they were still standing up. So it wasn't a stampede. It's categorized as a crowd surge. Most people who were in the crowd, they remembered vividly about how it felt. They were being lifted off the ground. Their feet weren't even touching the ground anymore. And that's why there's so many shoes that were left behind, because that's how strong. I mean, the pressure from all sides, they were just being pushed and shoved, and that pressure, it's like they're being held in the air by it. I imagine it's like the feeling of being caught in this powerful wave in the ocean. Like, you don't stand a chance when you're there. Your body is pushed, shoved, thrown off balance. The force is so strong, like, what can you do? And in this situation, survival might solely depend on where you're positioned when it happens. There's a 21-year-old Malaysian named Ragu, and he was lost in the crowd surge. He called his best friend Kim while he was stuck in the crowd surge, and Kim said Ragu was this hard worker. He worked in construction so that he could earn money to send back to his parents back home in Malaysia. He was just this patient and kind soul that just wanted to support his family. He called him in the crowd, and he told his friend Kim, "I'm having a hard time breathing." He also told him, "There's a woman next to me who's fainting, and I'm trying to get her medical attention. She needs help very quickly." He told Kim that he's trying to find ways to escape the crowd surge because this woman, this stranger, really needed help. Kim is anxiously staying on the phone with him, and I'm sure that he felt just helpless because he can't do anything for his friend. And then suddenly Ragu told him that the woman he was trying to save, the stranger next to him, her hand had gotten cold. And not too long after, the phone was disconnected. That was the last time Kim would hear from his friend. He died that night. At around 10:30 p.m., the fire department starts receiving calls that 10 people have been pushed down to the ground and crushed. So again, I don't think it was just 10 people, but I think in the vicinity, people who were able to access their phones saw about 10 people. They reported that people were having difficulties breathing. A few minutes later, the first 4 ambulances were dispatched. Then 6 more came just a few moments later. Police officers started arriving at the scene, and they're unable to control the crowds. Now, it's important to note that there are a few select police officers to judge for not taking action quicker, but a lot of the ones that were dispatched in this moment, they were just genuinely trying their best to help. They were not the ones making executive decisions of who goes where. They were going where their superiors told them to go. They were not the ones picking up the phone about this Itaewon crowd surge. They were just told to go there. So they show up not knowing what's going on. There's a video. Police officer Kim, he wasn't even dispatched to the scene. He was on duty nearby, and he happened across the situation. So he stops and he tries to take action. He said that when he got to the alleyway, he made his way through the crowd. He saw that civilians, regular civilians, were already taking initiative, pulling people out and doing CPR on them. So he's like, okay, this is what we need to do. You know, we need to try to figure out the best course of action in this chaos. He and his colleague decide that the best thing that they can do is redirect the crowds to stay away from the alleyway, away from the Hamilton Hotel, because you add more people in the mix, it's just not good. They also needed space for rescue work. So he starts trying to direct the crowds, and it was hard. So these crowds, most of these people have no idea what's going on in the alleyway. These are people that are about to funnel into the alleyway. And they're moving past him, and he's in police uniform, but so are a lot of people. It's Halloween.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, man.
And he's trying to get everyone to walk away from the alleyway because it's utter chaos over there. People are dying. People are suffocating, falling down, collapsing. And if you watch the video of him, there's like this almost primal desperation in his eyes. He's trying to talk to the people that are moving away from him, and these people, they're inches away from his face, and it seems like nobody's listening. Either they can't hear them through the music. It's nightmare fuel. When you're screaming, no one can hear you. You're the only one that knows that doom is happening. There's panic. He's trying to scream over the music, "Please go home. Do us a favor, everyone, please go home. Don't go further, please. Go back, please. Don't go forward." You can literally feel the fear through the video.
The music is so loud.
trying to yell at them to go the other way, away from the surge. He tried his best to warn the crowds. He tried to warn everyone that people were dying and they all needed to leave. It was dangerous. And nobody was really listening. He was later interviewed and he said that he didn't have a megaphone on him because he wasn't dispatched to the scene. He was just on duty. He stumbled upon the dire situation. So I imagine he wasn't even driving around in like a cop car. I imagine that he was like on patrol duty. He said, if we went back to the precinct to get a megaphone, we would have lost too much valuable time. And he cried on the interview and he said, in the end, a lot of people ended up dying. And I kept thinking to myself, if I had hurried, if I had a megaphone on me, if I handled the situation differently, in a better way, maybe we might have saved one more person. And that's why I'm at a loss for words, and I'm so sorry to the families who have lost their loved ones. He said, I tried my best to rescue them, and I'm sorry. I just couldn't. I couldn't.
경찰관들 그리고 있는 시민분들이 정말 발벗고 나서서 구조를 해주셨는데 결과적으로는 많은 분들이 돌아가셨잖아요. 저는 그래서 말씀드린 대로 제가 좀 급하게라도 좀 확성기라도 챙겨서 가져갔으면은 또는 다른 더 좋은 방법으로 구조활동을 펼쳤다면은 한 분이라도 더 살렸을 것 같은데 그것 때문에 참 유족분들께 너무 면목이 없고 죄송한 마음밖에 없습니다.
The situation literally couldn't have been worse. I know there's a lot of discourse.
That's a lot. I think we all can be honest that when you spend a lot of money, preparation, and time, and you want a release because you haven't been able to party, if you come to this location, they tell you to turn back, there's a bit of you that is not going to want to hear that.
No.
There's a lot of you that's not going to want to hear that. And I think a lot of people don't know the severity of anything when it's happening because it's hard to understand reality when chaos is happening because we're so used to things going correctly.
And the thing is like she said, this is Halloween.
And it's that
There's
dilemma.
a lot of people wearing cop costumes.
There sure is, yeah.
Who do you listen to? The music is going off. That music was loud.
And you don't got your megaphone.
You don't have a megaphone.
Yeah.
You're just yelling at people. Everyone's yelling. There's crowds. It's hectic. One guy's on his phone. He's just trying to tune out everything around him so he can be on his phone.
Yeah.
There's so many factors. And like she's saying, alcohol was the least of them.
Absolutely,
this wasn't even. So like the comments about alcohol are just uncalled for at this point because that was the least of it.
Yeah, because it's obvious there's going to be drinking there. So like
Yeah.
obviously that's it's a part of it because that's part of the hangout there. That's obviously what's going on.
It might
there.
make you a little bit more open to enter that
realm.
funnel.
Yeah, in that funnel for sure.
Instead of turning back and going the long way around because
Your gut
it's not
check.
that bad.
Yeah.
You know, your gut check may not happen as much, but like it was the least of the issue.
100%.
Like-
We're already a third of the way in here, so it's the perfect time to thank you
Mhm.
guys for spending this time with us. I'm sure you're enjoying your first Rotten Mango as much as enjoying is crying and all that. It's just a powerful story, and there's a lot of heroes mixed in this tragedy
So many
that
heroes.
gives a lot of hope into what you can do in these situations and all that. And we're just gonna make sure all the boys upstairs are doing good and get a little snack ourselves. Okay, we had a snack. We checked on the boys. They're doing all right up here. There's Kim Baek-yeom. We need more policemen like him out in the
Mhm.
world. That's for sure.
One's willing to just stop and take charge.
Hmm.
죄송한 마음밖에 없습니다.
The situation literally couldn't have been worse.
I just have to pause for that. Even though he says, if only I could have saved one more person, if he had gone back to grab that megaphone, more could have died.
Yeah, they said that for sure.
And when she says it couldn't get any worse, it literally could have been worse because if he would have not been there, one more could have died and it could have been 160 instead of 159. So even him being there could have saved many lives, and he's such a hero. So like as much as he's devastated about not being able to do more, he did so much. And even if he doesn't fully realize it as an outsider view.
I know there's a lot of discourse about what's wrong with these partygoers. People are dying. Why aren't they listening to the police? What's wrong with them? But that's not everyone. I mean, I would like to believe it was a small group of people. It's not like everyone just stood around watching. People, they tried really hard. There was a photographer visiting from China, and he went to Itaewon thinking he would take a lot of cool pictures since he heard the costumes were going to be going all out this year. He finds himself crushed in the alleyway instead. He's hanging onto this pole to prevent himself from losing balance and falling over, and he was standing behind these two women. Every time like a wave of pushing would come, he would grab onto these women. He said he tried to stabilize them because he knew if they fell over, they would be dead. There would be no getting back up in this situation. He wanted to make sure that they were okay, even when he himself was not doing okay. And there were others like him. He said he looked into the crowd and saw this family, so a mom, dad, and a kid that seemed to be maybe 3-4 years old. The dad was holding onto the baby above the crowd so the child wouldn't get crushed. And side note, it seemed like the family was passing through to get home or to the station. It's not like they were out partying for Halloween with their kid. They get stuck in the crowd and they're screaming for help. He said that he saw the crowd working together to pass the child from the parents to a nearby business in the alleyway. So when the photographer made it back out alive, he went back to his hotel. He's so shaken up. I mean, he only had like 3 pictures in his camera roll that night, and all of them were before the tragedy, and everyone just seems to be so happy, just connecting with each other. And he said that his hands are shaking when his wife called him. They just had a baby, so she just gave birth recently, and she's calling from China, and this is so heartbreaking. But she called and asked about his night, and he said he came home because he just wasn't feeling it. He didn't want to tell her that he had witnessed one of the most horrific incidents of his entire life. He didn't tell her that he stood there watching people die next to him. He said that he didn't want to worry his wife until he got home. Like, even during the most traumatic moments of these people's lives, even during a situation where it was life or death, a lot of these people were still putting others first. Yeah. A little girl had gotten lost in the crowd. She was separated from the adults that she had come with. She had momentarily fallen down, and she felt a man helping her regain balance. And if he hadn't, she likely would have been crushed to death. She didn't know his name. She didn't have the chance to thank him. Witnesses said that the man who helped her ended up getting stuck after he pulled her out, and he ended up passing away. His name was Lee Ji-han, and his name might sound familiar, but he was a 24-year-old actor in South Korea. Wow. He was on a few different shows, and he was always known to be very, in Korean it's called 매력적이, which means very charismatic. So he'd be on these shows and he would laugh in these like reality shows, and he would always cover his mouth very shyly. He just felt like such a genuine person. And the most heartbreaking part about this is that he had just signed to star in a new MBC fantasy drama that would have been his breakout role. Like that was the role he had been looking for, like his whole career. And he had what it took. He was good at his job. He was able to make people fall in love with these characters. He just wouldn't get the time. The little girl's parents expressed their gratitude and apologized to Lee Ji-han's family for his act of courage. So all the while this is happening in the middle of the crowd, just to show you how chaotic this whole incident was, some people at the top of the hill didn't even realize that there were people being trampled down at the bottom. Some of them didn't even realize how dire the situation was becoming. They were just excited to get down there and have fun. And we're going to talk more about this later, but there are online speculations that a group of people had caused the crowd surge and had started pushing people down. More on that later, but for now, at 11 p.m., 30 more ambulances were deployed to the scene, as well as more personnel, more authorities, national disaster medical assistance teams, firefighters, policemen. They're all finally being dispatched to Itaewon. Finally, at 11:19, Halloween in Itaewon was called off. 10 minutes to midnight, the fire department issued a Stage 3 order, which is usually reserved for large-scale disasters. It was too late. I mean, first of all, they arrived a bit too late. I mean, even when the personnel got there, it's not like they could do much. They're just trying to resuscitate people. It was pure chaos. Add to that, there were a ton of partygoers who were wearing paramedic uniforms. They look like doctors, nurses, police, firefighters. The music is still blasting. I mean, it's hard to even decipher what the hell is going on.
We need to go check on our boys. Okay, the boys are all good upstairs. Isaac, our youngest, is now asleep. Oliver is ready with his Bluey show. And Avery is eating, which he definitely needed. So we feel good as parents too, because a lot of these parents don't have that ability to go and check in on their kids. So we have that blessing to still do that. So we do it when we can. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
The music is still blasting. I mean, it's hard to even decipher what the hell is going on, who to listen to, like what's going on. It was chaos. And of course, the question is, if authorities had gotten there sooner, if the victims had been treated immediately, could they have been saved? I'm not a medical professional, but a lot of medical professionals online speculated that, yeah, a lot of them could have been saved. Usually after 4 to 5 minutes of enduring this level of pressure and lack of oxygen, you start heading into severe brain damage territory. So time is of the essence. I would say that there's a few different types of people that weren't a part of the crowd search. There's the ones that were inside. So these are partygoers that were inside bars, restaurants that weren't connected to the alleyway. They probably came outside and saw all hell break loose and they had no idea what's going on. Then you have groups of people in other parts of Itaewon that hadn't seen what happened in the alleyway yet. So they don't know what's going on. They're partying on the other side of Itaewon. They're living up their Halloween weekend. Then you have those who saw what's going on and they fled. They left. They were terrified. Then there were those who stayed and tried to help authorities with CPR. And then there were a group of people, and I would like to say this is the smallest group of people, that saw what happened, heard people were dying, and they continued to party. There's a viral clip of a bunch of people partying on the side of the street while ambulances and medical staff are performing CPR on the other side.
Like in plain
At least it
sight?
wasn't us mentality, right?
And this is the first clip I saw of Itaewon on the night that it happened.
You think these people know what's going on?
A lot of people think they do. I would like to speculate that maybe they didn't know.
Not the
In their
severity, at
defense, they
least.
said that
Yeah.
there were a high number of ambulances present, so maybe they just thought it was like a precautionary measure. But they were literally fist pumping to the song on the beach. I mean, the visual impact has been a lot.
Yeah.
So while ambulance lights are flickering around them, they're singing, dancing. And to make matters worse, it said that a lot of people were so busy filming the ambulances while partying, they were blocking the medical staff from getting to the victims. Koreans could not, for the life of them, understand how that could have even happened. How could people be doing that? After the crowd surge, the alleyway
2022.
slowly starts getting
It's that
cleared.
era.
And now we're just dealing with the aftermath. Trying to rush everyone to get medical attention. There were hundreds of people laying there motionless, needing CPR and needing it fast. So Anna was originally from Spain, and she had come out to Itaewon with her friends for Halloween night. She walked into the bar that night with her friends. People in costumes were laughing, taking pictures. I mean, it was a great night. And then when she walked out, it was just like an apocalypse. She didn't even have time to take it all in. People start running up to her and her friends, and they're like, "Do you know how to perform CPR?" Anna didn't know, her friends did, so they're like, "Hurry, follow me." Anna's friends run off without her. She's completely alone, just standing in front of this restaurant, like confused. 3 minutes later, her friends come back, and they're crying, and they're screaming. "We tried to save them. We just tried to save like 5 or 6 people, but they died."
That's
Anna
so
runs
quick.
with them to go help more people, and she said, "I didn't know what I was doing. I just followed the others. They told me to hold these people's heads, open their mouths, and I tried, but they all died. The people we tried to help, they had already stopped breathing. There was nothing we could do." It was so traumatic. It was total pandemonium. I mean, sirens and screams and cries. Music is still blasting. Paramedics are doing CPR in the middle of the road. Partygoers are stopping and watching. Some of them are performing CPR. The only lighting is coming from the brightly colored neon lights of the bars and the ambulances. Random civilians started taking charge and administering CPR, most likely to girlfriends, boyfriends, best friends, their sisters. Like, you see these people trying to get them to come back, and it's just so desperate. A Pakistani nurse was visiting his brother that lives in Korea. They went to Itaewon just to see what Halloween was like in Korea. He ended up surviving, and he helped with the CPR efforts that night. He performed CPR on roughly 15 to 30 people that night. Wow. Now, if you guys have performed CPR, it's physically incredibly taxing. It's not just like you're using your whole body. These people were drenched in sweat. He said that he worked all night long, and he saw everyone working so hard. People didn't even know who anyone was. They're just doing everything they can to try and save some people. I just want you to listen. He is speaking Korean, and he's saying, I'm a nurse. I know how to do this. And if you don't know Korean, you might not understand, but you hear people screaming in the background, and they're screaming, help me, help me. He pretty much worked all into the night, and the next morning he got home with his brother, and he said he couldn't even fall asleep because all he heard were the screams of everyone screaming, help me, help me. And he said even months later, he can't close his eyes without hearing people screaming, help me, help me. Also in the crowd, there was a college couple who were getting married.
Gotta go help my son eat real quick here. Daddy's got the touch, that's for sure.
Daddy sure does.
Just gotta eat one piece in front of him, tell him it's good. He's like, all right. Oh,
it's like, okay, you're right, it is good. I guess I'll eat my scrambled eggs.
Okay, y'all.
Also in the crowd, there was a college couple who were getting married in May of 2023, so in just a few months from when you're seeing this. They had been in the crowd, and the man did everything to try and protect his girlfriend. He tried to shield her body with his own body, and he made sure that she didn't fall. But he ended up losing consciousness, and the two were separated in the crowd. He woke up. Medical staff were like, okay, well, you need to go to the hospital right now. He refused. He rushed to find his girlfriend, who was laying there just on the cold ground, and he performed CPR for over an hour. Oh my God. And she wouldn't come back.
Oh God, that's sick.
And there's more on the CPR situation we need to talk about. So most of the victims were women, naturally due to height and smaller stature. Most of the victims who passed were women. The paramedics were going around and they were unbuttoning their shirts because that's how you do CPR. It's easier for them to breathe. Apparently, this is very standard. What's not standard is some onlookers pulled out their phones and tried to record videos. No. The victims were being administered CPR in an attempt to save their lives. Some people thought to film it for the internet because they were partially unclothed. People were crying out loud, stop filming. Everyone stop filming, just help.
Yeah.
Their bottoms were uncovered, even their shoes were missing. A lot of Koreans were upset because for these victims, even in their last moments, it's like they were being robbed of their dignity. It's just a gut-wrenching feeling. There were hundreds of people down in the ground at this point. Once the chaos was somewhat contained in terms of the chaos of the alleyway and the partygoers were shuffled out, the victims were rushed to ambulances and to the hospitals. But by this point, it's too late. Most of the bodies were laying on the side of the road with blankets covering them. Their bodies were being put on stretchers to be taken to the hospital, but there were no signs of life, really. Most of the victims had already passed, but they had been left just on the road for more than an hour because there were too many victims that rescuers couldn't transport them all to the hospital quickly enough. A Chinese student who was in Korea at the time, she was in one of the big bars of Itaewon, and she had no idea any of this was going on. She said she walked outside at 2 a.m. Remember, the crowd surge started happening around 10:15. She walked out, and she felt like the world had ended. Yeah. Quite literally. She said that there were paramedics everywhere doing CPR on lifeless bodies. There were still sirens. She said, I saw rows of people covered with cloth blankets, and I felt like I was confronted with corpses. The first official death toll was issued by authorities at 2:30 in the morning. They stated 59 people had died and 150 people were injured. An hour later, the numbers rose to 120 people that were dead with 100 injured. And it would rise again. And side note about these injured, I know sometimes we hear these numbers and you're like, well, what does injured mean? Like, do they have small scratches? Like, what's going on? I'm pretty sure it varies, but it's pretty bad. People had broken bones everywhere, fractures.
Ribs,
they were going to need surgeries, nonstop medical attention. A lot of the injuries were life-changing. And if they weren't, they were really horrific. There was a Chinese survivor, let's call her Miss A. She said she barely...
See, this is the thing I noticed the most about a phone. Humans have such a weird bystander effect that has happened throughout our whole history, where we look at something and then we think someone else is going to do it. The shitty thing about a phone is now you're not just a bystander, you're an antagonizer.
Now you're an antagonizer because you're recording it happen instead of helping.
So it
you're
is
doing
picking
the
a choice.
negative versus the positive.
It's not even neutral now. It's actually on the negative, and you think it's for something to gain or even just like to expose instead of helping. Like everyone is, if you don't know how to do CPR, it's better than nothing. Then go and attempt and walk how people are doing it. Get someone who does know to teach you really quickly for the attempt, because look how many people need to just.
If you need to do CPR, keep going, 15, and make sure the head is back so that you're not getting the air into their stomach.
Like, you can see why it's really handy to know these things too. Get your first aid people.
Double check that, because I could be even wrong, but like that's what I was told. But I've never had to do CPR, but that's what I was told if it ever got into a situation.
Just sad.
It's so crazy. Everyone should know.
Survived the crowd surge. Even thinking about what happened that night, she feels like she's suffocating. She said she thinks it helped that she was relatively tall compared to the other people in the crowd, but it just felt like hundreds and hundreds of pounds were pressing on her chest. She could barely She said she thinks it helped that she was relatively tall.
Yeah.
Were life-changing. And if they weren't, they were really horrific. There was a Chinese survivor, let's call her Miss A. She said she barely survived the crowd surge. Even thinking about what happened that night, she feels like she's suffocating. She said she thinks it helped that she was relatively tall compared to the other people in the crowd, but it just felt like hundreds and hundreds of pounds were pressing on her chest. She could barely stretch her neck up to breathe. She said her neck was cramped to one side and she couldn't move it back forward. She couldn't move it to the other side. Her neck was like perpetually stuck looking to her left. And she was forced to watch the girl on her left die. She suffocated. And she couldn't even turn away because she didn't have room to move her neck.
That's a whole different level of terror.
Soon after that, she felt something strange on her back, and she later realized that the person behind her was throwing blood up on her.
Oh no.
A lot of people actually vomited. A lot of the dead bodies were seen with vomit around their faces because when you suffocate to death, oftentimes you do vomit. She said that it was so tight she couldn't even move her fingers, and it felt like 300 people were just pushing her, and her legs went numb for about an hour. She couldn't feel her legs. Wow. Eventually, she was carried out by a firefighter to the roadside. She was rushed to the hospital. She said she still needs to get x-rays for her chest because it's been really hard for her to breathe. Like, it hurts when she takes a breath. Another survivor, Juliana, she's a 23-year-old student from Mexico who is studying in Seoul. She said she went with a friend to Itaewon, and as they were heading into the subway station to go home at 10 p.m., the minute that they stepped into the alleyway, Juliana and her friend were separated. It was pure chaos. She said it was like this uncontrollable force that was pushing her down. Her feet lifted from the ground, and she couldn't go back, she couldn't go forward. Whatever the crowd was moving in, whatever direction, that's where she was going. An unconscious person fell on top of Juliana, and she said it was pure panic. She started hyperventilating. She had to calm herself down. She started blacking out. The noise of the crowd started feeling quieter and quieter, and she couldn't feel her legs. She couldn't even move a single toe. She said she started thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to be next. It felt like she was just waiting for death. And somehow, by some miracle, a young man standing on a high platform on the edge of the alleyway was able to wiggle her out and save her.
Jeez.
She had been trapped like that for nearly 50 minutes. She said she looked around and there were dead bodies everywhere, and she was severely shaken up, but she went home that night and she thought it was just nerves, but the next day she had a crazy fever. She was hospitalized and diagnosed with necrosis of her leg. Basically, when blood flow is cut off from a part of your body, tissues start to die. Yeah. In severe cases, this can be fatal. It's when your limbs literally start dying and it can start spreading. Thankfully, she's recovering, but the pain is really bad.
Are you
One of her legs is
serious?
still very blue, very swollen. She can't walk properly. If she even breathes too hard or too fast, she feels immense chest pain. And these are just the physical injuries. In the end, 159 people died in the Itaewon Halloween tragedy, including the deaths of 26 foreign citizens from 14 different nations. Really? The overwhelming majority were Korean citizens and women. 102 women and 57 men. 158 died from suffocation, and one person later committed suicide.
Right.
196 people were physically injured. Physically. Keep this in mind. That's not including mental, emotional, because the trauma that these survivors, the first responders, the fire department, the trauma that this whole nation is going to carry with them. I mean, the real number of those impacted and injured and the families of the victims whose lives are just never going to be the same. Like, there's no way to put a definitive number on that. Like, it's hard to put a number on a whole nation's pain. So when news breaks of this, parents are glued to their phones. And it sounds selfish to say, but many of them were probably thinking, I hate myself for thinking this, but please, God, like, let it not be my kids. Yeah. Many parents were alerted later on by officials that their child had passed away, and they didn't believe it because, I mean, just think about how shocking that is. How do you comprehend that? Your kids go out, they're going to be home relatively early, they talked to you just an hour or two ago. Many of the kids were going out to eat with friends. Yeah. One mother of a victim said, I didn't believe it until we got to the hospital. I didn't believe it until I saw my own son with my own two eyes. And she said since then, her whole family has been broken. Her husband, the victim's father, has attempted suicide. And their daughter, who sees them in pain, she cries to them, it should have been me that died. It should have been me instead. Another mom rushed to the hospital only to see that her daughter had died. And she said, it's truly devastating to identify your own child. When I go to bed, I can't get that picture out of my head, so I can't sleep anymore. The parents, they couldn't understand what had happened to her, so they got her phone and they said at 9:35 p.m., their daughter was taking pictures smiling in a bar. Then at 10 p.m., she texted her friend that she was going to go home now. She's going to go to the Itaewon station and go home. She took a couple more pictures smiling, and then on her way to the subway station, she got caught in the crowd surge and died. Her friend who survived later said that they weren't even trying to use that alleyway to get to the station. It was so crowded up until that alleyway, it's like they got sucked into it like a vacuum. Her friend ended up surviving, and she said it was so bad. She lost her shoes. Her feet weren't even touching the ground. She was just being moved by the crowd. They got separated. And her parents they look at these last pictures taken of her on her phone. And her dad said, she's smiling. Look at her smile. Look at her face. And her mom would cry, she's my best friend. She's my best friend.
Oh Will-suk and Kim Un-mi look through photos on her phone, trying to piece together how Jimin became one of the 158 victims of Seoul's Halloween crowd crush.
I can't look at the photos, they make me cry.
That image of her keeps coming to me, so I can't sleep at night.
It snowed yesterday and got cold. Jimin is buried outside. It makes me more sad.
A lot of parents gathered at a press conference, and you can hear them scream at one point, take us and bring our kids back. Many of the parents are heard apologizing to their kids about what happened. And I can't even imagine the pain of the guilt that these parents are going to carry just for the rest of their lives. I mean, I'm not saying that's a logical feeling. I'm not saying that they should feel guilty, but that's how parents feel. One father found out at the hospital that both his daughter's arms had been broken before she passed away. And now all he can do is visit her at her resting place, and he tells her, 아빠 왔어, which means Dad is here. Dad is here. He said, I should have taken more care of her. She was a precious daughter to us.
Check on them. Kids are good now. Anti-stress might be good for right now. I don't know about you, honey. Do you want any?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how y'all are doing, but hopefully that anti-stress spray is helping you get through the tough parts here. I know a lot of you are parents as well, so just knowing what they're going through and what they had to do. I've only had to bury my cat, and that was devastating. So I don't even want to think about what I would have to do on the other way.
I've had nightmares of losing my kids, and that's the closest I ever want to come.
Let's go back.
She was a precious daughter to us.
자, 어서.
There is said to have been over 1 ton in weight of items left behind in the Itaewon tragedy, just belongings, mainly from the deceased. So bags, clothes just left in the alleyway because, they were getting ripped off and the shoes were falling off.
Jeez.
There were 123 handbags, 258 pieces of clothing, and 256 pairs of shoes. They were all laid out in a gym in Seoul, and parents and families were called to search for their belongings of their loved ones. And there's this heartbreaking moment where a mother walks in and she recognizes her daughter's handbag. And just to see her reaction to seeing her daughter's bag is so heartbreaking. I don't even have the words. At a press conference, another mom played a song that her son sent her. And at the end, he says in a voice memo, "엄마, happy birthday. I love you." And just seeing her break down as she listens to his voice again.
엄마, 생일 축하해.
By November 1st, the funeral homes in Seoul were overflowing. They were filled with bodies of young people who were just starting their lives. So many of them had just graduated high school. Some of them were just in college, or they had just graduated. This is the beginning of their lives, and now they're gone. In one funeral home, 28-year-old James Sim's body was put to rest. And in the room next door, his best friend Yoon was put to rest. And in the funeral home across town, his girlfriend was put to rest. All 3 of them had died that night. And the one thing that James's parents kept saying was, our son loved to work out. He spent most of his free time in the gym. So how could that not have even saved him? And I think that just shows you genuinely the true dangers of a crowd search. It doesn't matter your fitness level, your physique. It's just that
Your
dangerous.
positioning.
The parents cried, "James is the best older brother out there. How is our younger son ever going to cope?" A bunch of James's friends who didn't attend Itaewon that night, they came to the funeral home and they all sat in silence grieving for James. And when they were done, they couldn't go home. They couldn't lay down and cry themselves to sleep. They had to go to the next room over and grieve for their other friend, Yoon. There were altars set up all around South Korea for mourners to pay their respect. A lot of flowers were brought. Some with soju bottles were left for the victims. Many people bowed to the victims as a sign of ultimate respect.
도저히 못 참겠더라고. 언제까지 이럴 거예요, 진짜? 에? 이래가지고 경제 발전하면 뭐 할 거예요? 에? 3만 머리, 5만 머리 뭐 하냐고. 젊은이들 다 죽여놓고. 에? 언제까지 이럴 거야? 불쌍한 애들. 에? 나가지고 키워서 고등학교, 대학 보내가지고
The man who is breaking down, talking about what good is a strong economy, I think there is a lot of trauma left over from the ferry incident in 2014, where over 300 people died, a majority of them young students. We're going to get into that in a second, but I think the whole nation kind of united in these moments. Like, the whole nation was so devastated by this. I mean, even here in the US, I didn't know a single Korean that did not feel immense sadness for what was going on. Many Koreans came out to hold up candles and these memorials all over South Korea. It's estimated that over 100,000 people came out to grieve. But slowly that sadness and that grief would turn to anger, because it's like, okay, now we want some answers.
Yeah.
No
so
kidding.
the first person that, not the families.
Close your eyes a second.
Do I have another spot?
Got you.
Of the victims the internet went for were the so-called pushers. So there were words of survivors that sent chills down people's backs. A lot of survivors were interviewed and they said, we were all suffocating, and from behind we could hear people screaming, push, push, push. The survivor said that the crowd started feeling these pushes in different intervals, like you were up against a massive wave, just being pushed, regaining balance, and then being pushed again. There's a couple of videos where you can see, I guess, waves in the crowd, if you can call it that. It just seems like people are standing static, and then they're being pushed in these wave-like motions. But the unsettling...
For sure, you can see all of them
That
being...
surge.
That's the scariest part about this description, is being lift off your feet and you're moving in a wave of people. Like
that you can't even...
Oh my god, that lack of control and claustrophobia. Like, how do you not panic and just have a panic attack to just pass out?
And you can't even, like, move your body to, like, move
One
up
lady's head
toward,
stuck
like...
left like this and can't even move and has to be calm like this. What? Oh man, I don't even want to think of that.
Man.
The part was the survivors saying that a group of people were pushing the crowds on purpose. More and more survivors came out to confirm these stories, and they said, yes, there were a group of guys screaming push, and they were pushing hard. One survivor said that they heard a guy say, let's just all push, kids, push, push, push. The survivor said they could see the crowd surge, and they were all thrusting forward, and a bunch of people started collapsing in front of them. A lot of survivors all seconded this story, and some even mentioned seeing a guy with a rabbit headband being the leader of the pushers. They said that they heard him scream, "Go crazy, kids, push." One survivor said about the rabbit headband man, "I really felt like I was in hell. People in front of me were crying for help. They said that they were dying and couldn't breathe. People behind me were screaming and pushing, and I was like, wow, this is what hell feels like. My feet were lifted up from the ground. I couldn't breathe. Suddenly someone grabbed me with their hand and I was crying. They had saved me. Like, they shouted at me to make myself pull myself together. There were still people around us screaming, partying, singing. It was so evil. It truly felt like hell. I saw people being crushed together and dying. If I ever see that person with the rabbit headband again, I would gladly stab them." Jeez. Another witness said, "I can't believe what had happened. I saw people laughing. I'm not sure if they found it funny or if they were too scared to know what to do." What's wild is that during this entire tragedy, there were people that were still partying, like I said. A survivor from India, Nuville, said that it felt like waves were coming down on him. There was nothing you could do. It felt like you were being sucked in the crowd, and it's like the crowd has a mind of its own. The only reason he said he survived was a woman, ironically wearing angel wings, waved to him, and he was able to find his way up to a high step in the alleyway. And from there, he could see people dying. Jeez. He said there were so many of them. There was nothing he could do. He felt so helpless. He tried to scan the crowd for his friends. He reached for his phone. Nobody picked up. The most heartbreaking part was that he saw this man on the side of the road afterwards, just tunnel vision, performing CPR on his friend, just going at it, not taking a moment to breathe for like 30 minutes.
Jeez.
He had sweat dripping down. I mean, he himself was so out of breath, like 30 minutes. People tried to drag him away because everyone knew that his friend was gone. But he still went on for 30 minutes. And Nuville said it was evil because he turned to the right and he saw a few people fixing their faces while this was all happening, as if nothing had happened. Another witness survivor said they lost faith in all humanity that day. Now, back to the pushers. People in the back felt like they could push their way through the alleyway, and allegedly some of them screamed, "We need to push to get through." Some even said that the two Korean words, push and go back. So you had half the group wanting to go back, and then you had half the group wanting to push. It was just at odds. And above the loud music, the chaos of the screams, it was hard to hear what people were saying. So 밀어 means push, 밀어, and then 뒤로 means back. So 밀어 뒤로, 밀어 뒤로.
It's confusing.
Yeah, so with the music, maybe it was confusing. So netizens took their jobs as internet sleuths seriously. They were able to find out who the rabbit headband guy was.
Crazy.
They
good.
tracked him down online. They start leaving him comments, messages, telling him, you better turn yourself into the police because you are the killer. You're the cause of this tragedy. It looked like they weren't going to stop until he was taken down. The rabbit headband man went on to Instagram to state that he and his friends were being hunted down. And he said, yes, that's me in the rabbit headband in the pictures. But my friends and I had already left Itaewon Station when the crowd surge happened. So we were not the ones pushing. Like maybe there's another guy with a rabbit headband, but it's not me. He posted his subway ticket to show proof. And it showed that he did indeed leave Itaewon Station at 9:55 p.m.
Interesting.
The police were also able to confirm that he was not in Itaewon at the time of the crowd search, and he wasn't found responsible for the pushing. There were other rumors of a guy that went around pouring oil on the ground so that people would slip and fall.
What?
Oh, wow.
Those were later proven to be false.
Yeah, that sounds.
But the witch hunt didn't end there. I mean, I think people were just looking for someone to blame.
Yeah.
A lot of angry netizens were looking for just anyone. Even journalists started to blame people. I think they were just looking for provocative stories. So they start blaming a very popular live streamer. Let's call him K. Netizens.
See, that's the thing. Provocative stories instead of heroism always, for some reason, rises to the top.
Sell more money.
Even when I was watching just the Netflix series with Katrina again, there was a lot of looting that started happening because of obviously the hurricane took out the whole place. So then people needed to eat eventually, needed to go into shoppings and just start doing that. But then because of that, the narrative, instead of saving people, became about literally the looting.
It's like, oh, people are looting grocery stores. Oh, yeah, well, people need to survive.
Like, there's a million people that need to get out of that location because
Like,
they're
there's
stuck.
a million
They're
people
stuck
stuck in
like
a
in a
bowl.
stadium and all these things, and it's so reminiscent to just how bad like foresight really can lead to these nasty tragedies, because you know every Halloween is gonna be like this. So like you could have foreseen this.
You could have, like, and if you haven't had Halloween for 3 years, expect that this Halloween will be at least
You expect a bigger wave.
at least 3 times worse or better,
Yeah.
depending on how you're looking at it,
No
than
kidding.
the other Halloweens. So like you need to have police. Like that's the biggest thing, is why was there no police stationed there just in because they knew there was going to be a big surge of people coming into Itaewon. Like it's baffling how little precautions were taken to prevent something like this from happening.
Yeah, and they always want to go for the news that is more tantalizing, you know? Like people just going through this tragedy is tantalizing enough, wouldn't you think?
Speculated that Kay was the reason for the crowd surge because he streamed that he was in Itaewon and all of his viewers swarmed to see him, causing an influx of the traffic. So they were like, it's his fault for so recklessly telling his viewers that he was in Itaewon. And then he was like, no, I happened to be in Itaewon and I couldn't leave the bar because it was so dangerous. In the same breath, another celebrity was being blamed. Yoo he lives in Itaewon and everyone speculated that he went out and people started spotting him outside and that's why they flocked to Itaewon. But in this case, Mr. Yu's agency came out to say that he wasn't even in South Korea at the time of the tragedy. So it genuinely just seemed like people were going out to blame one individual. They were just trying to find someone. But that was proving to be very difficult. So briefly, the public, the netizens, the journalists, they start blaming the businesses. They start turning their attention on the businesses. They said, you guys didn't help out with the crowd surge. The businesses in the alleyway could have saved people, prevented the crowd surge. That's what they're saying. Now, a lot of this rumor comes from the fact that a bar, Waikiki Bar, was seen closing their doors and not letting victims in. But one of the owners and the employees have come out and said, basically in the beginning, when the crowd surge was just happening and people were running in, we didn't know what was going on. We thought they were drunk. We thought they were drunk and like having a blast and like screaming and like running into so we closed the doors. I mean, it was strange. But when we realized what was happening in the alleyway, we opened our doors, we let people in, we all started doing CPR. But it didn't matter because netizens were going crazy. They flooded the store owners with really nasty messages. Employees from the Waikiki bar said, "I will never forget the look of the eyes of someone I performed CPR on." He also stated that there was a distinct smell that started coming from the crowd surge, and he'll never forget it.
Yeah.
He said, "My heart beats so much that I have to take sedatives every day. No matter how much I drink, I can't fall asleep. I just keep thinking about the look in their eyes." The police even fueled this rumor that it was the business's fault by stating businesses specifically told the police to ease up on police presence this year because these businesses wanted people to party so that they could make more money. Which personally...
I don't doubt that as well, though.
What? The business owners would later state, "No, we didn't say that." And
That's good.
Even if we did, what are you saying?
Yeah,
Like, you're really just going to listen to us? Like, when have you guys ever listened to business owners and we're like, you know what? You're right. Let me just not show up. And side note, the businesses in Itaewon, they're not doing well.
I bet.
Even months after the tragedy, a lot of them are drowning in debt. I mean, Itaewon has kind of become more of a ghost town these days. People said it just feels wrong to go there and have fun. And this is
That's
literally
rough.
a city that was known
really
for its
rough.
like fun life, like bars, restaurants, shopping, these activities. They said they're all suffering. Some business owners said, it's been rough. We were hit with COVID. And then when finally things opened up again, now no one comes to Itaewon. And not only that, but we had to live through that night, trying to save people and being traumatized. So a lot of these business owners, these employees, they have a lot of trauma from the incident. They're emotionally, mentally scarred, and add to that their financial pressures. A business owner said there's no sales, like none, not even one throughout the day. So it was clear that the businesses were not to blame. So since individuals in attendance, the businesses, they couldn't be...
Everyone's to blame.
Everyone's to blame.
And that's everyone's looking for. Even they want to blame the police. It's like, thank God we even have police to even go and help in those situations, because without the police or not, y'all are gonna go to this party. That's the whole point of this. Like,
There's precautions that could have been set up, and there were precautions that weren't set up, but that was done by everyone, not just...
Yeah, and these businesses wanted to be open for these moments too. And even if they said it or not, it's not like they want this all to thrive. They wanted this event to go down. It's just such a tragedy. And when there's tragedy, everyone wants to rationalize tragedy.
But you can't
But
rationalize
that's
a
the whole point of
tragedy.
what a tragedy is, and it is so tragic. And I think when you start looking, it's obviously it's the stages of denial, and that's what we're talking about here. We're in the anger stage, so it's easy in retrospect to think about how people are trying to pin it onto things. But they always say alcohol isn't a thing to do with these moments. I know for me, when I had my first house party, alcohol wasn't the thing that made it bad. What made it bad was the decisions that we made that led to the bad thing because of being a little drunk, where saying yes to something led to then letting this guy come, and then this guy is the one who brought the bad drugs, and then he brought the bad people, and then that's what brought this, and then it keeps piling on. So
The guy saying push may not have said push.
at the end of the day, I wanted the party. I wanted to have fun. I lost my right to go back into the house. I lost my lease, everything. So it was part of the exception of what was going to happen because of the party and everything that was coming into it. So that's why there is a bit of grief from parents when they do let their kids go out to these things, because that is the places where it could happen. But it's not like you go and stop people from living their life. But
Exactly.
but then you need to not also put the blame onto others if that's the choices you're also making. It's just that's the tragicness, because it wasn't being differential to like who, it wasn't a racial thing or anything. It was just
simply a tragedy.
like that mom was saying, my son was so strong, how come he passed away? It's like it has nothing to do with that. It was just it's a horrible moment. And after an hour of 10 and going through the stages of our own grief through this video, I'm now on full realization mode, where it's like I think I just got a little quicker past the anger, where now they're on anger, so I'm a little past it on my grieving. So that's why I'm like, okay guys, stop blaming it on everyone. This is just pain. Just be there for each other and be there to support.
But I also understand the anger of whose fault is this, because you need to, like you said, rationalize it.
And you need some justice.
You need some justice, and that's what rationalizing a tragedy is you're looking for justice. And I think that the biggest one that people are blaming, like you mentioned, the police, was why didn't you go when the first call was made at 6:30?
100%.
The first call at the
Didn't
very
take the
beginning of
warnings.
this was made at
Multiple warnings.
6:30, and then they continued getting calls again and again and again and again and again. And the first
just stopped coming.
responders were people who was a guy who drove past.
Yeah, I understand all that
Like,
stuff for sure.
Absolutely. So like I can see where all this anger is. Like it's devastating.
It is.
That the businesses were not to blame. So since individuals in attendance, the businesses, they couldn't be blamed, the internet started making it very political. Now, this is very intense, and like this, when you start going into the whole Itaewon story, there's so many layers to it. I mean, you think it's just first police planning, the city planning isn't good, and then it just gets very crazy. So October 29th, earlier in the day, there were these protests throughout Seoul. A lot of it happening in Yongsan, which is the province that Itaewon is inside of Seoul. Now, there were protests everywhere, and they were like labor unions protesting. They were close to Itaewon. There were reports of 18 different rallies and protests taking place the day of October 29th, and they were big. Like about 30,000 people were out protesting. Now, the right-wing individuals are trying to blame the left wing. So the labor unions, they're typically associated with the left wing. And basically they said because of these protests, police had to be dispersed throughout the province. And they used up all the manpower, making sure that the protests were contained and nobody got hurt during the protests, that they didn't have any more resources for the Halloween weekend. But the left-wing groups fought back for that reasoning, and they said, no, it's dumb to even draw these conclusions. So on the weekends, nobody should protest. And the current president, President Yoon, he's a conservative, and we've talked about him before on the Stephanie Sue channel. He's made some very controversial moves, such as moving out of the Blue House, basically leaving the White House to live somewhere else. And that somewhere else is in Yongsan, which is the province that Itaewon is in. And that's going to suck up a lot of resources, especially with the police department, because there was a set protocol in place when the president was in the Blue House. And now they're adding just a lot more chaos, I guess. It's speculated that 700 police officers were busy commuting to and from the president's new residence. Basically, people on the left were saying because the conservative president unnecessarily moved, the Yongsan police were too busy accommodating his new residence and keeping him safe. They didn't have enough manpower to protect the civilians in Itaewon that weekend. A lot of people were calling on him to step down, the president, but the conservatives were arguing with them, and the whole thing just got super political. Now, to be fair, Koreans had a lot of other things that they were mad at the government for. The most recent tragedy of the Sewol boat sinking in 2014, 306 people, majority of them students, died when a ferry sank off the southwest coast of the country. Government response was really bad. Like, the president was shifting blame. It was just really gross. The government focused on their image rather than prioritizing lives. Yep. So as the boat was sinking, and in the key moments where lives could have been saved, the government straight up refused help from other countries because they would look bad on them. They tried to downplay the severity of the event. I mean, it was so gross. So a lot of people with that trauma lingering in literally every Korean's minds, a lot of people are like, wait a minute, the government should be the one responsible. Everyone pays taxes in Korea. That's what the police are supposed to do. I mean, it's like that in the US. If there's a big concert in the area, if there's a big game, police have meetings about it. There's a protocol, there's a coordinated strategy. Like these are the departments that are responsible for making sure that everyone is safe, even if it's not like a police event. Like, you have a big concert, police are going to be involved. And it's not just like this secretly planned event. Someone said, I mean, everyone knew what was going to happen in Itaewon. Like, people were going to party. Someone said the government is responsible for such organized events. They should have planned ahead. They should have sent out enough police. They should have evacuated people accordingly. They should have controlled the crowds. I mean, even the signs were so clear. Like, even as the night progressed, you didn't have to be in Itaewon to know that it was getting overcrowded. Even the subway stations were jam-packed. Everyone was swarming to Itaewon Station, and basically they would all travel to that tight alleyway to get to their destinations. The government response was just really bad. The Korean Premier Minister Han Duck-soo was doing an international press conference about the incident, and due to technical issues, he couldn't hear the translator properly, asking a question. So he smiles and he said, "Who's responsible for me not hearing the interpreter?" It's just really distasteful. Like, his attitude, his energy, it was very, what are you doing? A lot of netizens wrote, I can't believe what I just heard. Like, is he being sarcastic right now? Like, this is crazy. Is this the time or place to be cracking these cute little jokes? Like, how can you even smile and laugh in this situation? The next day, he apologized.
Good.
But it gets worse. Do you remember the 16-year-old high schooler in the beginning of the episode who took his own life because he lost his friends in the deadly tragedy? Well, the premier minister basically told the press that that victim should have been more committed to getting mental health treatment. He said the basic preventative measure that the government can take is this, but the victims themselves need to want to receive treatment. They need to be persistent.
Oh my Lord.
Only then can the government support them. Yeah, well, you can just see how that went over. And finally, with enough pressure, the South Korean government decided to list the high schooler as a victim of the Itaewon tragedy.
Yeah.
The government originally did not want to add the 16-year-old who committed into the death toll. The government didn't know, because it gets super technical, but the families of the victims could be able to receive some government assistance when it comes to mental health help and funeral costs. So I think for the parents, they wanted him to be listed as a victim of the tragedy, not for the money, but because he was. This is why he died. If that incident didn't have happened, he wouldn't have taken his life. It's pretty straightforward. So yes, he is a victim of the Itaewon tragedy. But you can see how the government had incentive to not have him listed. They didn't want to raise the death toll. They most likely didn't want to acknowledge the level of trauma that the incident would cause to the survivors, to everyone. So after the government's response, the president also said his condolences, but it was just very... And again, this has nothing to do with like political parties or who the president is or what he stands for, but I just think in any situation like this, it's just a very lukewarm response. It was very PR. So after the government response, parents of the victims, they weren't happy. One of them said, this is a PR response. They should show us that they're working hard to prevent things like this from ever happening again. Like, we need to know what's being implemented so it...
Okay, y'all. That was the last time we're pausing. Avery's good regardless if they're crying or not. You might hear them a bit, but we got to make sure we finish this off in time. We have 15 minutes left to finish off this incredible story. She's going to wrap it up the way that she always does. And denial is a very hard thing. Scapegoats are, it gets even worse, but I think everyone just needs to take responsibility in the things that they have done. And like the parents are saying, we just want to know you're trying to prevent and have something better for this if something like this happens next time. Like, we understand
Show
the
us
tragedy
that
now.
our children didn't die in vain.
Yeah, it's like when the tsunami comes and takes us out, are we going to learn from this and prep out our city to like take a wave better?
Yeah.
Or do we just let these waves keep coming?
Our island has been talking about the big one and the tsunami and all that stuff for 30 years.
We ain't prepping.
What have they done to prep for the thing that they're talking about? And that's what they're saying in here. You knew this was coming. You knew there's going to be an influx of people. We've already had a tragedy like this. Like, what is this, 2022? And the Seoul tragedy happened in 2014. So 8 years ago, we had a tragedy. Why didn't you prepare over the last 8 years to make sure that another tragedy didn't happen where we lost more of our children?
That's the main thing. We're losing our children.
We're losing our children because you're not preparing.
Doesn't take place. Another victim's mother was so angry, she tore up the condolence wreaths that were gifted to her by the president and the mayor of Seoul.
Wow.
She said the government failed to protect the children. Flowers are useless.
Yeah.
Do you remember Yejin? She dressed up as Princess Jasmine in the beginning of the story. Her dad visits her every day. She was his only child. She was his whole life. And he said in another interview, children who lose their parents are orphans. But there is no word for parents who lose their children. But I think I found one. Sinner. I feel so guilty for losing her. And he's mad. He's angry. He said the government is trying to give them money for funeral costs, which the funeral costs were said to have been about $11,000 a victim, and medical attention, medical help, I think $7,000 in medical help for the survivors. And he said, we can live without the money. We can't live without our daughter. This is not the way to help us right now. This is not how you help the grieving parents and families. They're not taking accountability. They're just all shifting the blame to everybody else. And as a parent, it fuels me with rage. He said, if we get a proper apology and see those responsible punished, it would reduce my anger maybe 1/10 of 1,000th, but at least a little bit.
알라딘에 나오는 자스민 공주 옷을 데려왔더라고요. 그걸 입고서 내 앞에서 패션쇼를 하면서 다 큰 지지가이가 패션쇼 하면서 아빠 나 이쁘지 이쁘지 하면서 아니 깨방정을 떠라는데 자기네 잘못을 인정하기는커녕 다른 사람한테 책임을 전가하고 책임을 회피하고 이런 작태를 보면 분노가 치밀어 올라요.
All the families want is a government apology, an honest investigation into how things happened. Many of the parents agree that this is murder. Murder by lack of organization, murder by omission. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, they anticipated many people were going to be there for Halloween. They had a meeting. The government had a meeting about how it was estimated that 100,000 people were going to gather in Itaewon, and they didn't prepare for it. A parent shook their head and said, I don't understand that. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Many of the parents were also saddened by the public reaction. One said, did the kids all go to heaven simply because they went out to have a good time? I don't think that's right. Because a lot of people make it seem like these kids wanted to have fun, so they had to pay the price. But that's not what happened here. Another person weighed in. The government always talks about how they can't prevent an accident like this from happening, but now they need to come up with practical measures to make sure it never happens again. The parents are angry. And I think another good place for that anger is with the police and the police chief of the Yongsan department. Because what the hell is going on with the police? It said that the police initially planned for 200 police officers to be at Itaewon for Halloween, but that night only 137 officers were on duty in the area, which even 200 doesn't sound like a lot, because the words Halloween and Itaewon were trending on so many different social media platforms. YouTubers, streamers, they were all telling their viewers that they were going to be in Itaewon. A lot of people were drawing attention to Itaewon's Halloween festivities. It wasn't like this, oh my God, I'm so shocked so many people showed up. There were so many phone calls made to the police alerting them of the dangerous situation unfolding. It said that from 6 to 8 p.m., 28 reports were made about the overcrowding situation. From 8 to 10 p.m., 51 reports were made. And right before the accident, another 79 reports were made. And during all these reports that came before the incident, this is not even including during the incident when people were collapsing. Only 4 police officers were actually dispatched to the scene. And I don't know if they did anything. Like, maybe they told their superiors that something bad was happening and the superiors didn't care. I don't know. Maybe they didn't think anything was happening. And the first reports came in 4 hours before the actual tragedy. One survivor said, it would have been nice if there were policemen trying to maintain order, but there was not a single police officer in the beginning that I saw. And once the accident happened, it was hard for them to enter the scene and help. Yeah. So after the tragedy, there was an investigation into the police, and an official said, oh, those reports coming in, they were just general reports about inconveniences that residents had. So police chief of the Yongsan Police Department, Lee Im-jae, he was investigated. And wow. Okay, so the day of the incident, when the reports of the dangerous conditions were coming in, the police chief decides that he's going to end up going back to the police station. But instead of walking there, which would have been a 10-minute walk, he decides he's going to drive to the police station. And it would take him nearly an hour to drive to the police station in critical moments because he didn't want to walk. Then when he gets to the station, he goes up onto the rooftop to check it out. He's thinking that maybe he can see the alleyway from the police station rooftop. But imagine, people are in danger and you're like, let me walk up to the roof to see what's going on. Additionally, he tried to hide what his schedule was like the day of the incident, but reporters were able to piece it together. And also, side note, the president of South Korea called this man personally and he didn't pick up. Jeez. So let me walk you through that day that he really didn't want you to know about. He claimed he arrived at the scene at 10:17 p.m. and he took charge immediately in saving lives.
Sorry, that's
but instead, what really happened was he was overseeing a rally, a protest that was happening near the president's office in Yongsan. That ended around 8:30 p.m. He went to a local restaurant nearby for dinner with other officers at 9:24 p.m. He received the first really bad reports about the crowd situation, so other subordinates at the police station disregarded all the other prior phone calls. At 9:30, they were like, maybe we should tell the chief.
Wow.
So he gets to the restaurant 9:24. At 9:30, he gets it. What do you think he would do?
He continues his dinner.
He continues his dinner. He ate 설렁탕 leisurely for about 20 minutes. He goes to his car at 9:47 p.m. and he drives to the police station to respond to this. Now, this is what's insane. From that 설렁탕 restaurant to the police station would take him 10 minutes to walk. He chose to sit in traffic for an hour because he wanted to drive. He got to the police station at 10:55 p.m. It took him an hour to go half a mile. It could have been a 10-minute walk. And then he's seen on CCTV walking from his car to the police station. And if you see him walking, he has his hands behind his back as if he's leisurely strolling around while people are dying.
Is he not behind bars?
Oh, he is now, yeah.
That's good.
So, yeah, that's his urgency level. He gets to the police station, goes to the roof to check out the situation. Later, he tried to lie.
This is why I keep bringing it up, but y'all need to see from like a North American really bad thing is what happened in Katrina in New Orleans, because like Bush is literally on vacation when he finds out what happens in New Orleans. What do you think our president does in the United States? Goes and takes 2 more days before he comes back. And then what does he do? Not just go on top of a roof. He just flies over on his Air Force One and looks at all the damage, takes a good picture and says, let's think about what we're going to do now.
Wow.
Like, you just see like what people at the top of levels, because they don't want to accept responsibility.
They're dissociated from it.
They're dissociated from it. They don't even want to stop their daily pleasures of just eating or a vacation just to save a bunch of other people, when you're the ones who have the power. And not even like you're the ones who can physically do it. You have to be the one to say yes and accept it and help these things move forward. So
absolutely.
It's rough when people at the top aren't looking for everyone.
Gets to the police station, goes to the roof to check out the situation. Later, he tried to lie to Parliament and said that he requested additional safety task forces for Halloween, but he was rejected twice. He said he requested, they kept saying no, so he had to make do with the amount of officers that he had. This was a complete lie. He never requested extra security forces.
Wow.
Actually, a police officer for the Yongsan Police Department reported that he told superiors that they need to look into crowd safety and deploy officers for Halloween weekend. But his superiors told him, and I quote, focus on the large-scale rally near the president's office that night instead. And just to expand on that, at the time, 1,100 police officers were near the presidential office in Yongsan.
Wow.
And the same day, 4,700 highly trained crowd control officers were near the president's office. They were tasked by the administration to monitor anti-government protesters. None of them were sent to Itaewon.
So if you're blaming...
So it left only 100...
If you're blaming the left or the right, because the right was blaming the left, saying it's your fault for protesting, and the left was saying it's your fault for not having enough officers and overly focusing on the protests.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like they were both in the wrong, because they both created a situation that made the police run thin.
Yeah, but it like they're saying, then how come we only got 150 where you had
1,100?
Even more, it sounded like, because they had even like crowd controllers in the thousands as well on top of that. So like that's an insane disproportion. That doesn't make any sense.
Insane disproportion. Yeah. Like, it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but like we're saying, like
everyone's at fault.
Everyone's at fault here. It's just a horrible tragedy.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah, this is the definition of it.
None of them were sent to Itaewon.
Wow.
So it left only 137 officers for Itaewon. And only 137 of them, that's literally nothing. Nothing. Officers, out of the 137, no officer was in charge of maintaining security and safety. Like, there was no game plan, there was no thought out strategy. These 137 officers didn't even seem to be working in unison to make sure everyone stayed safe. In fact, these officers were told their main focus for the night should be on cracking down on drug usage in Itaewon.
Exactly.
Police Chief Lee In-jae was arrested December 23rd of 2022, so not too long ago. He's still being investigated. 2 other officers were immediately arrested because allegedly they told their subordinates to destroy internal reports about the phone calls that were being made to warn the police about the crowds.
Wow.
And as of January 13th of this year, there have been 23 people that were indicted. Half of them are police officers. Most of them are accused of contributing to the death toll through negligence or even trying to destroy official documents that might include criminal evidence. Out of that group,
So
the
2
highest
years
ranking
ago,
official
eh?
so far is the chief of these whole metropolitan police. So Eum-jae is just the Yongsan, the province, but the actual Seoul police chief was arrested as well.
Wow.
There's still a lot of questions though, like why wasn't the subway blocked? That's a huge point of contention. So normally the Korean government will block the subway stations, and typically it's done through the police. The police will tell the metro department to skip a station during big events. So Itaewon was becoming overly crowded, so the first thing that they should do is make sure nobody stops at Itaewon anymore. It just bypasses Itaewon, right? You would think that's the next step, but the subway station wasn't blocked, which we know is super important because of the location of the Itaewon station with the alleyway and how the tragedy unfolded. So why wasn't it closed?
Yeah.
There are two sides to this, the police's side and the transportation side. Completely different government departments. The police said, oh yeah, we asked the Itaewon station to stop. Like, we asked for this station to be skipped to help disperse the crowd when things started amping up. We even asked if the subways could give people free tickets out of Itaewon. So really help them out, right? So we could control the crowds better. But our requests were denied twice. The Metro department came out and is like, no, that's not how it happened. That's not true at all. The police were only asking us, how do we make requests for free stops for people? Like free exits for people. It was like a nonchalant question, so we answered it with our usual response of like, this is the official format on how to do it. They weren't even telling them like, this is an emergency. The Metro said that they can't control it on their own, even if passengers were like, you need to like skip this stop. They can't do it because it takes a lot of civilian guidance and movement. So the police need to be at the station guiding people on what to do. Like the train can't just be like, anyway, we're deciding to skip. Because then it's going to cause like a surge somewhere else. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah, mayhem.
Side note, another arrest was made. The chief of the fire department was investigated. His name is Cha Sung-bom. The police stated, they stated that the chief of the fire department, Choi, did not respond properly to the scene, which is rich coming from them. But I guess there was maybe some valid criticism. So the first ambulance at the scene was actually sent from a different province. So they're like, explain yourself. That's what the police are saying. But nobody liked this take. Like, not the netizens, like really nobody. So Fire Chief Choi was there at the site. He was the control tower. He was guiding police officers, the firefighters. He was managing the chaos to the best of his ability. And I'm sure there is a lot of critique out there about maybe it wasn't the best managed, but he did seem to try. The police claimed that the incident was further escalated because the fire chief's poor management of the disaster. It just really seems like they're trying to point fingers, if I'm being honest with you. Even the prosecutors, basically the DAs, were like, no, like let the fire chief go. And the firefighters came together to support him. They did not believe that this was the right decision. It felt like the government was using their chief as a scapegoat. Even most netizens and Korean citizens did not agree with this because I do think that there is always a level of distrust with police. But with the firefighters, they were truly acting as first responders.
Yeah.
It wasn't even in their plans. Like, they weren't necessarily the most responsible for making sure that the crowd surge didn't even happen in the first place. That falls on the police. So they came in afterwards to help. A lot of firefighters spoke up and said, we gave our everything at the scene. And it wasn't enough, but we gave it all. They said that they watched through the body cam footage to learn and to see what they could do better. And one firefighter said, one thing I noticed is that there wasn't a single moment where any of my colleagues, not a single moment where we were walking. And I think that's supposed to call upon the chief of the police for his nonchalant attitude while the tragedy was taking place. And that's where we are. Like, it's crazy that there's no end right now. Like, there's no, okay, guys, and maybe we can all sleep better at night because this is what's being done. Like, that's just where we are.
It's so much more impactful to hear these personal stories because it just sounds like a crazy story, but to hear individually every person how this is impacting them is, I don't know, it just brings so much realness into this.
And I know a lot of people were focusing on the people partying and screaming on the beach and stuff, but just hearing how all these regular civilians, the way that they were trying to save each other, like, I think the one thing that we should try to remember is the news cycle moves so fast. And I just hope that the parents, the families, like, they get the answers that they deserve. One quote from the parents really stands out to me, which is, please serve our kids justice on their way to heaven. And there's a sign that was put up outside. This is a sign that was put up around Seoul everywhere. And it says, please don't forget about us. About Itaewon. That is it for today's main episode. This wasn't even supposed to be like a video episode, but I just really wanted you guys to see and hear from the families of the victims. But please stay safe, and I will see you guys on Sunday for the mini-sode. Bye.
Wow, eh?
Wow.
What did you think of your first Rotten Mango?
Oh, it's heavy. It's
Yeah.
so much, and she goes so in depth, and she really makes sure she has all of the information from all the different sides to really show truly how the tragedy really came to be. And like, she comes at it from an objective standpoint where she's not trying to push her own bias or anything
She's got
onto
no
it.
agenda with
She
this.
has no agenda with it.
Yeah.
So she's really coming in to say, these are all the things that happened. You can tell where her emotion stands with like how every department handled the situation incorrectly, and she's really like, this isn't okay, but she's not pushing a bias, which is so amazing to see as a journalist.
Giving platform for the heroes
Giving
as well,
platform
not
for the
just
heroes.
the bad, tantalizing
Absolutely.
news angles, right?
Because so often in media, it's the tantalizing bad news angles, like she's saying,
Yeah.
that the negative narratives that are being pushed that really stop the heroes from being recognized, or for the positive narratives to be able to be seen, or for even the truth to make its way through. Because if you over-focus on the positive, that's a narrative. If you over-focus on the negative, that's a narrative. And the truth lies in between it somewhere. And I feel like that's what she's really able to do, is allow the truth to shine because of the objective way that she puts this information through. I cried a lot during this because like it's anything to do with losing children is absolutely devastating. It's just heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
And having children, as you can hear them upstairs going between laughing and crying,
what a contrast,
and
right?
currently running, it's like it's absolutely petrifying, because if that wasn't there, like, you understand where a parent can get to that point.
That guilt that you could see, like the one that really stood for me is you call when you're a child and you lose your parents, you become an orphan. But what do you call the parent that loses the child? And it's a sinner, and that's devastating to think about.
You failed. You missed the mark.
And you saw it in all of them, even if they didn't want to think that. I mean, part of that responsibility, and why every time I've been hearing the boys going through this, like, I better just go check, because like, you just never know what's going on. And one of the times, Avery was crying while he was holding Isaac, because Isaac was crying. Isaac just needed daddy for a little bit there, and that was enough to put him down and sleep. But then in those moments, you could be like, no worries, it's that phone call is not as negative as it is. So those phone calls of hearing the babies crying, it's like, is it really that bad? Is there a storm really going on where there's someone who's silently crying in the corner because trying not to make a scene and all that stuff too? And that's what happens when it's 6:30. It's like, I could see something coming here, but like, I don't know how bad it's gonna be. But like, I also want to be here too, because I'm just eating. I just finished my job and I'm gonna eat here. So like,
I live here. I just need some
food. It wasn't all even just for the party. We heard about the story of the passing of the kid going across too.
Petrifying, because you don't even know if did the baby survive? Did the parents survive? Are they part of the tragedy? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Petrifying.
So like, think how many moments there were in this and how devastating it is, where each victim, it is that impactful, and you want to give full grievance. And I was happy to see they have like a real mourning periods in South Korea, because in Canada there's not much time for mourning. If someone passes in your life, you don't even know if you can get a day off of work sometimes.
Get time off work.
Like, it's unless you know your job employer, right?
If you passed away, I would get 2 days.
Wow, like, good job. That's sure gonna help, right? Like, you need at least 7 to even get through the morning before you can even start doing something. But that's just how impactful these episodes are. You can now see why I have to come up about 4 times to be like, hey guys, can someone hold me for a second? And I know this is why you guys like when reactors do these, because it's difficult to watch these ones alone. So we hope you guys had a good time and got through it with us. I know a lot of you wanted us to check this because we're going through so much of South Korea's culture as well, and to just know the shifts that they were going through, I can see why this tragedy was really up there for us to see as parents as well. And just the way that we were going to dissect this, because it even became political in ways too. So you could even see some of the flaring in our political stances on how we were thinking they were addressing it. So you could already see how it's hard to know how to address this thing.
Yeah.
Is there a best way to do this? No one knows, because that's an unprecedented moment, honestly.
What they
that
should
happened.
have done, and this is just my hindsight is always 2020. It's easy to come into this watching it 2 years after it happened and be like, oh, they should have sectioned off, those like ropes that you have at a concert, sectioned off down the center of the alleyway at the very least.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
Like down, not block it off entirely, but section it down the center and be like, all right, everyone on the left, go.
Give them
Everyone on
some
the
lanes.
right, go. Give them some lanes. Have a traffic organizer at the front and at the top and at the bottom,
2 ends for sure.
and with their walkie-talkie, like they do with car traffic when you have to do one single lane car
100%,
traffic.
I understand that.
They could have done something like that, and that would have just, even that, something that simple, 2 or 3 officers just, or 4 officers being like, okay, stop, okay, go, okay, stop, go, could have saved so many lives. But they didn't even prepare for something like that, which really shows the negligence. And really, that's what I think all of this ends up being, is negligence and fear. Negligence in not preparing enough, and fear of being thought demonized for then acting too late.
Yeah, I totally get it. And it's just devastating, because again, I just watched this Katrina, New Orleans is stuck between 2 massive things. There's the Mississippi River and then the ocean. And that's what I was thinking. It was these 2 really busy streets. One was the station, and then there's this alley in there that was just in the middle of this bowl that was ready to have this moment just potentially happen. And all the correct things happen to create this insane tragedy that again, I always try to look at the heroes in these stories and see what they do,
The guy in the
and
blue
so that you
jacket.
can learn something, because we learn from heroes, and there was a lot of them. So as sad as this was, there was some hopeful moments that, when push comes to shove, it looks like more people were trying to help. And unfortunately, when there's some nasty people looking to push and all that, it only takes a few rotten to ruin the bunch. So this is definitely devastating. We would love to see more Rotten Mango, though, so please let us know what other episodes you would love to see Alana and I do. Hopefully you have all enjoyed getting to see Alana's insights and her emotions that she got to go through with this. I'm hoping y'all brought your tissues, because we almost went through a half a roll with this one. We didn't that much, but anyways, it was honestly a blessing. Thank you guys so much for spending your time with us. If you're not a Chronican yet, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any more of these type of reactions. Hit the like button so you know you had a good time with us, and comment down below some of your thoughts and your emotions. And there's always someone here to talk with you as well. So we are now exiting the rabbit hole, folks.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us as we went through this Halloween tragedy in Itaewon.
Yeah.
This is devastating, and my heart really does go out to all of the parents, all of the friends, all the survivors, all of those who live in Korea, and to the Korean citizens, because like, this is devastation, and this hits communities on such an extreme scale that
businesses are dying, as
like
we're hearing.
The city is becoming a ghost town, as they say. So like, my heart bleeds for all of you and everyone who is even impacted by this so personally. I could not imagine this type of heartache and that kind of pain, and the way that Stephanie, was it?
Yep.
Is able to explain these stories. She really does bring you into the moment, and really is able to explain the true fear and impact of what happened. I think that through what she's doing, she's able to help people find peace and justice in her own way. with having such an objective way of looking at the situation. And I think that is beautiful, and that she needs to really continue doing what she's doing, because she is helping shed light on things that we are over here in Canada. We would have never known that this was even a history that has taken place if it wasn't for all of you in the comments, and for Stephanie and her husband with Rotten Mango being able to put these stories out there for the world to see, especially when we know how corrupt medias can be when they try to hide and bury narratives. So thank you again, Stephanie, for bringing this to light, so that the victims, these children, these families are able to be remembered, and that their story can be used as a warning and as a memory for everyone else. So thank you everyone for being here with us. This was definitely a eye-opening experience and an emotional roller coaster. So thank you again for being here with us. Normally we end the podcast with peace and love, which I'll still do, but man, it feels difficult today, let me tell you.
Still, God bless y'all, okay?
Take care, and go hug your babies and your friends and your loved ones. And bye for now.